Hashem Naaseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah. First of all, thank you very much for hosting the event, for having me. From where I came from, it's like the end of the world, but Baruch Hashem, we got here. The shiurim usually are not planned. It's really based on the crowd, based on what you guys want to talk about. We talked a little bit about, the situation today, the difference between Judaism today versus the past, the truth versus the lies. And it has to do with everything, really. Musar, in general, is something that each one of us is obligated to do every day. It's not just something that you do once a year. It's not something that you do once a month. It's something you're supposed to do every day. It's learning Musar is cleaning out the inner Chametz throughout the entire year. And that's generally the topics that we've been talking about, or we're going to be talking about over the next few days, is cleaning out the inner Chametz, because Am Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, is spending so much effort, so much time, cleaning out little breadcrumbs in every corner, and torturing each other and the family and everything, been turning dust into chametz. Dust is not chametz, and the husband is not a kapara either. He's not the korban. But the reality is that sometimes we worry so much about cleaning up the house and eating a certain type of kosher and this and that, and we forget the real purpose. Now, you can ask, in my opinion, you can ask most Jews, what is really the number one most important part of Pesach? And most Jews will tell you, eating kosher for Pesach, eating the matzah, making sure that you don't eat chametz, don't violate. Very few are going to tell you that the Magid, the part where you actually tell the stories of Yetziat Mitzrayim until you fall asleep, is the number one mitzvah. But that's the truth. The truth is, the number one most important mitzvah in all of Pesach is the Magid. It's the part where you stop and you start talking about, how do we get here? 3,300 years ago, we got Matan Torah, there was Yetziat Mitzrayim, there was a lot of balagan, everything happened. Fine, fast forward to now. How do we get here? Where are we now? And I think that most of us have no idea, because we've never really asked the question. Some of us know the stories, Baruch Hashem, of what happened, the plagues in Egypt. Some of us even know a little bit more. We know the little details of midah keneged midah, the measure for measure from each one of the plagues. Hashem didn't made the blood come down because, made the water turn into blood because the Egyptians didn't allow us to drink. And he also made everything smell really bad because they didn't allow us to bathe. So they tortured us, he tortures them, and everything has a midah keneged midah principle. But then you fast forward, and you get to Makat Choshech. Makat Choshech, we had 3 days of darkness, and most people do not know that the Makat Choshech was not only a plague that killed the Egyptians. In fact, the Makat Choshech, at the best estimate, meaning the most conservative, the lowest number, the nicest way, killed 80% of Am Yisrael. The best way. The Midrash Me'am Loez says something scary. Says, Rab Nachmani says, most think they killed 1 out of 5. That Hashem preserved 1 out of 5, meaning 20% left Egypt. He says no. Some say he preserved 1 out of 500. He says no. He says Alvai was 1 out of 5,000 that actually survived Egypt. Alvai, it was 1 out of 5,000. But we all know, Rab Nachmani says, we all know it was 1 out of 500,000 at best. Meaning, the nicest way, the Rashi Pirush says 1 out of 5 survived Egypt, meaning 80% Hashem killed, 20% survived. That's the pshat. But Rab Nachmani says Alvaya was 1 out of 500,000 survived, meaning 99.9%. 2 out of every million survived. Shem Elachem, you just think of such numbers, like, why just leave us in Egypt? Why just leave us in Egypt? And it's a serious question. Why didn't he just leave us in Egypt? And second question is, why did he kill them? Why didn't he just tell them, listen, no, come on. That question is still applicable today, 3,300 years later. And the reason why Hashem killed so many of us is because when he told us, listen, all of the plagues, all of the miracles, all of everything that's happened, it's all for the Matan Torah. All of it is for you to receive the Torah. Torah is not going to be given in a place of idolatry. It's not going to be given in a place where people are worshiping idols and worshiping themselves. It's not going to be given. It has to be given on Mount Sinai. Go to the desert. Like, yeah, but listen. If you told us this a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we would have done it. Why? We were slaves back then. It's comfortable for us to leave slavery and go to the desert. Why? It can't get worse than slavery. Now we're not slaves anymore. Now we have stores, and we have banks, and we have all these different things. We have Bitcoin. We have everything we have. We're not slaves anymore. Why should we leave Egypt and go to the desert? It's a downgrade. And they missed the whole point. He said the whole reason of why Hashem did what he did was for you to leave Egypt, not for you to like Egypt. The whole reason of why Hashem sent us to America is for us to have the ability to learn Torah without any distractions and without any problems. What happened? We became American. Instead of being Am Yisrael as a result of all of the miracles that Hashem did for us in Egypt, we became Egyptians. We became Americans. We became Europeans. We became everything but what Hashem wanted. He says, now I'm giving you one last chance. You have a Torah to get. It's on Mount Sinai. You have to go get it. You have to raise yourself up to Matan Torah. Not the Torah come to you. They said, no, we'll get back to you on that. So get back to me, I don't need you. And he killed them. So this, Rabotai, when we read on Yom Shishi, the tefillah and all the songs before, we say a lot of nice songs. On Yom Shishi, it brings a nice atmosphere. But actually, if you read the words, the meaning of the words of tefillah in your Siddur, it's probably one of the best Musar books in the world. Just you listen to what you're saying on Yom Shishi, Hashem lamabul yashav. God sat while the Mabul was destroying the world, in so many words. What does it mean? In so many words, Hashem is telling you, listen, I created the world in order for you to fear me, in order for you to honor me, in order for you to serve me, in order for you to learn my Torah. Not for me to serve you. Not for me to give you money every time you pray. Not for me to give you refuah shlema every time you cry. For you to serve me, we get the roles reversed. So Hashem reminds us every Yom Shishi, Hashem lamabul yashav. He says, I don't need you. I want you. You're my children. I love you. But I don't need you. Don't ever get it twisted and think that I need you. And unfortunately, Rabotai, we got it twisted. We think God needs us. And there are many speakers today that will actually say this outright. God needs us in order to honor Him. God needs us in order to serve Him. In essence, people believe that God needs us. That's how Reform was born, Conservative was born, and even certain parts of modern Orthodoxy was born. The concept that God needs us instead of we need God. Because if you really think that we need God, you'll think twice before you sin. Why do we sin? Because we think that He needs us. Or He's not watching. But definitely not that we need Him. Because if you need somebody, if you need a loan from somebody, you're going to mouth off? You say, hey, listen, you're late to work again. Hey, your wife cooks terrible. Hey, you smell today. You're not going to tell them anything silly. Why? You need a loan. You need a help. You need something. You need a ride. The reality is anytime you need somebody, all of a sudden you become nice. All of a sudden you start worrying about how you're behaving. We don't worry so much about how we're behaving. And the reason why is because, simply put, most people do not realize that we need God. So now, we were talking before about the problem that we have today is not necessarily because of the students. It's not necessarily because of Am Yisrael, the regular people, whether secular or religious. In reality, the big problem today is with leadership. Simply put, leadership is fulfilling the prophecy that it says at the end of Gemara Masechet Sotah, page 49b, where it says at the end of times, the truth will be hated. Anyone that will say the truth, automatically, he's going to be hated. Chutzpah tizgeh, there's going to be a lot of chutzpanim, there's going to be a lot of rude people, people that have no manners. So instead of saying, you know what, I agree. What he's saying is actually written in the Torah. It's not he's saying out of his own opinion. Instead, what do they say? They start writing bad stuff on you on the internet. Instead of saying, you know what, listen, what he's saying is in the Torah. I'm a loser. I have to do tshuva. Okay, or whatever. I don't agree with it. Whatever you're going to say. But instead, what they say, they start insulting you. Like as if you wrote the Torah. Why? There's a lot of chutzpanim in this generation. And I saw just in a lecture I did maybe 2 months ago. We were preparing for the shiur. And, as the usual thing with Am Yisrael, we're always late. Mashiach is late 2,000 years. He's definitely a Jew. The reality, we're always late. So the usual, we were supposed to start at 8. We started, it was 8:15 already. And I asked the Rav, do you want me to start? Should I wait? He goes, no, wait a little bit more. And one of the guys that already showed up says, no, come on, let's do it now. I'm already here for 15 minutes. Let's start. And the rabbi is saying to him, he's like, listen, but there's not enough people. It's only, half the people came. Let's wait a little bit more. And then we'll start. And he starts arguing with the rabbi. This, Rabotai, is as far from like reality as can be. You're arguing with the rabbi? Just forget about whether you're right or you're wrong. It's irrelevant. First of all, you can't do such a thing in public. Second of all, you're only looking at your own personal situation. The rabbi is looking at the kehillah. He's saying, listen, 50 out of 100 people showed up. So let's wait a little, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes even, to get the whole 100. He's like, no, I'm here, so I have to do it. So you have to do it because I'm here. And this, Rabotai, is not just his fault. It's not just the guy's fault. It's actually the rabbi's fault. Why? If the rabbi would have taught him Musar, and taught him that you're supposed to fear your rabbi as much as you fear God, he would have never been a chutzpan. So it's not just the guy's fault. He's just an Amahari. He doesn't know anything. He thinks that this is like an opera show. You show up at, it says 8 o'clock, it's supposed to start at 8 o'clock. Or else they close the door. He doesn't realize that the whole point of the shiur is to get Am Yisrael to do tshuva. He doesn't realize that. He doesn't care. He's there. He wants the shiur to start. The rabbi, on the other hand, is saying, listen, somebody came, is going to speak. Hopefully people are going to do tshuva. Let's at least get as many people as possible. So on one end, the rabbi means well. On the other end, the guy also means well. The problem is, there was a disconnect before this shiur. The disconnect already started before this shiur. The disconnect is that we're not teaching Am Yisrael the truth to such an extent that they know that such things are not allowed. Not allowed to talk to your rabbi that way, especially not, show bizayon, disrespect in public and such things. If you disagree, disagree. But the problem is, and the reason why things like this happen in almost every kehillah, is because many rabbis have left the role of the rabbi. They kept the title. But the role of the rabbi they left, and they became friends with people. And you'll see many rabbis very, very friendly with the kehillah. Very friendly with the teenagers. Very friendly with the gvirim, the people that are rich. Very friendly with people. They invite them to the house. They go to their house. And they talk, they schmooze about personal life. Oh, where are you going for Pesach? Or where are you staying? Or where this? There's a lot of schmoozing going around. Very little tshuva. A lot of schmoozing, but very little tshuva. That friendship, even though it looks good, theoretically looks good, is destroying the kehillah. You're not supposed to be friends with your rabbi. As nice as it sounds to be friends with your rabbi, and you connect, and he inspires you, and so on, the reality is that the Chachamim already taught us in Pirkei Avot that you have to be careful not to get too close to the Chachamim. Why? They'll burn you. Meaning, if they're really Kedoshim, you're not allowed to get so close to them. You're not allowed to befriend them. Why? Because you'll lose honor. You'll lose the respect you have from them. From far away, you have a lot of respect from them. As soon as you became friends with them, you're not going to have respect for them, and that's going to burn you. That's going to burn you in Shamayim. Instead of saying, in a Kvod Harav, what do you think? You're going to say, Kvod Harav, I think. conversation changes. And that's one of the flaws. That's, again, it's an outcome. It's an outcome of lack of teaching. But the biggest thing, have a sheet. The biggest thing, Rabotai, is that the Mishnah in Avot says, Makom she'en ish tishtadel liot ish. In a place that there's no leader, you be the leader. You be the leader. So, when it comes to the end of times of what the Gemara says, what's going to happen before the Mashiach comes, there's going to be a lot of chutzpanim, the truth is going to be hated, the leaders are going to do things that are the opposite of what's good for their own people. A lot of the things that we see, it's almost like reading the newspaper. You read this Gemara, it's like reading the newspaper. It's everything. It's unbelievable. Inflation, people chasing money nonstop, and so on and so forth. So how do we fight this? If the leaders are going to be hated, the truth speakers are going to be hated, the leaders that are there are going to be giving us the poison. So how do we fight it? How do we survive? Makom she'en ish tishtadel liot ish. You be the leader. You be the guy. Yeah, but I don't know how to speak. Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference. You don't have to be just a speaker. There's many ways to be a leader. If I told you, listen, but for every time you make a phone call, you get $1 million in your business. How many calls are you going to make a day? Until your fingers fall off. Why? Because every call is $1 million you're going to call. I remember I was in an investment business. I told the guys, listen, every single call you can make $1 million. How? Each guy can invest a certain amount of money. You think you can make $1 million? It's like, yeah, but come on, it's too much. Okay, hold on a second. Here, give me the phone. I'd make the phone call to one of my clients. I call him, hey, Mr. Jones, talk to him for a half hour. At the end of the phone call, the guy's investing X amount of money. I made $50,000. And they all see it. They're like, wow. I said, what, wow? You can do the same thing. Is anything that I say something that you can't say? No, you can say it. How do I know you can say it? I wrote it for you. Just repeat what I wrote. You don't even have to think. Just repeat what I wrote. I wrote it. I wrote you the script. Here's the script. Just repeat what I wrote and just say it to somebody else. If you're somebody else does the same thing my guy did, you also make $50,000. What's the problem? For an hour's call, for a half hour, for 5 minutes. And this is how a lot of people got motivated and became very successful, but they had to see it. Rabotai, even if you were to make $1 million in a phone call, it's still not anything comparison to saving one Jewish soul. Now, our misunderstanding today is that we think that to save a Jewish soul means that you have to go into the secular world. You have to go into the people that are mechalel Shabbat, they're not even keeping kosher, they're intermarried, no. That's the wrong mentality. The reality is that many people that consider themselves frum need even more saving than a secular person. And the reason why is because I remember when most of my life I was secular. I viewed my life as far as religiosity is concerned, religion, Torah, God, and so on. I knew the Torah existed. I knew God existed. I believed in Him. We had Kiddush on Yom Shishi, and then we went to the movies right after. We went to the club right after. I said, oh, you're not allowed to work on Shabbat. Fine, I won't work on Shabbat. I'll go to the casino instead. I'll have some fun. To me, there was nothing wrong with my life. In my secular mindset, is no different, is no different than every secular person in the world. Unless he's just a hater of himself and Judaism and God and so on. A normal person, every secular person thinks the same. They see nothing wrong with their life. They just see you religious people as you chose to be religious. That's for you, but not for me, he says. You chose to keep Shabbat. I don't feel like it. You chose to wear a hat. I don't want to. I want to wear a baseball cap. You chose not to drive on Shabbat. I drove to drive extra. It's your choice. It's freedom of choice. No, and they'll start telling you the Constitution too. Freedom of this and freedom of that. All of a sudden, everybody's a scholar in the Constitution. No one knows anything about Torah, but they know about the Constitution. The reality is, as a secular person, Rabotai, you are sleepwalking. You have no idea that you're walking on fire. You have no idea that you're going one way. You have a one-way ticket to Gehenom that never ends. Because anyone that dies in Mechalel Shabbat, Anyone that dies on Mechalel Shabbat, Befaresia, drives on Shabbat, smokes a cigarette on Shabbat, people know, 10 people know he's driving on Shabbat. Not even 10 people see him. A lot of people think it's, oh no, 10 people need to see that he's driving on Shabbat. No, that's not true. That's not true. The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah specifically says 10 people need to know that you're Mechalel Shabbat. If 10 people know you're Mechalel Shabbat, that's Mechalel Shabbat Befaresia. 10 people know you're Mechalel Shabbat, you have a serious problem. Why? The Reshit Chochmah says the Gehenom starts and never ends. Where does he get it from? Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, page 17. A. So the reality, Rabotai, is someone is mama sleepwalking. He has no idea there's anything wrong. He doesn't realize he's walking on a minefield. He doesn't realize that there's anything wrong with his life. Why? He's just looking at you, religious guy. Hey, look, he wears a suit every day. I wear a suit to work only. He wears a hat. I don't. He decides to get together with his family on Shabbat and go to Beit Knesset. I decide to go to the casino instead, or go to the beach. It's a freedom of choice. It's nothing more than that. He has no idea there's anything wrong with it. So for him, that's why a lot of people are dying to conclude that he's considered a tinok shenishba, like some kidnapped baby. Like they used to, Hashem and Hashem, what used to happen to us during the Shoah and after and before and so on, many, many times throughout all of history. The Christians have always capitalized on our torture. How? They always took our kids and told them they were Christians. Because for them, getting one Jew to be a Christian is more valuable than 1,000 of any other nation. That's why in any of their missionary websites, they always highlight the one Jew that converted to Christianity. They don't highlight the 50,000 people from Africa or from anywhere else in the world. They highlight the one Jew that converted Hashem and Hashem. And that's what they've been doing to us for 2,000 years. Now, the reality is that the secular guy sees nothing wrong with any of this. He sees nothing wrong with any of this because he doesn't realize it's an obligation. He doesn't realize that God didn't give us a choice. We have choice, but it's not free choice. Free choice would mean that you could just do whatever you want. If you do it, great, you get rewarded. You don't do it, you don't get rewarded. That's freedom of choice. We don't have freedom of choice. We have choice. Choice means if you do it, good. You don't do it, you get punished. That's not free choice. That's choice. That's like, what is it similar to? If, let's say, for example, you worked for a certain unusual business. You worked for the mob. Okay? And the mob told you, the mafia boss told you, listen, if you go and do such and such, I'm going to pay you. If not, I'm going to kill you instead. Which one do you want? Is that really a choice? Yeah, it's a choice. It's not free choice, though. It's a choice with choice with a price. That's what we have, le'avdil. That's what we have. Hashem told us, you have a choice. In the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, page 88, he says something scary. When we got Matan Torah, it says that the mountain, Al Sinai, became like a chuppah on top of Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael was, they came to Mount Sinai, and then it says that Am Yisrael was under the mountain. What do you mean under the mountain? It had a cave? No, it didn't have a cave. What do you mean under the mountain? Under the mountain, Hashem took the mountain and put it on top of Am Yisrael. And said to them, this is our chuppah. If you receive the Torah and you accept it, you accept the Torah, this is our chuppah, we get married. If you don't, this will be your burial ground. This is Gemara Meforeshet. This is not like some commentary that's on this Gemara. This is our oral Torah. This is basic. This is basic level Judaism. This is not, we're not talking about anything from the Kubalim or Machmirim or something. This is basic level Judaism. Hashem says, it's chuppah or burial. Which one do you want? So the Chachamim ask, wait a minute, what kind of choice is this? If you look at the halacha of someone that wants to get married, and he tells a woman, hey, you want to get married to me? She says, yes. Okay, Baruch Hashem, good for you. But if he says, listen, you want to get married, and he has a gun to her head. Is she considered married? He's putting a gun to her head. It's not fair. She's anusa. So, the pirush is even more valuable than the basics. Why? The commentaries are telling us, of course it wasn't up in the air. Of course it wasn't up in the air. Because if you notice, in the first days of creation, every time Hashem finished his work on a day, he said, Vayi erev, vayi boker, yom rishon. Vayi erev, vayi boker, yom sheni. It was night, it was day, end of first day. Night, it was day, end of second day. Night, it was day, end of third day, fourth day, fifth day, all the way until the sixth day, Yom Shishi. Yom Shishi, it says, it was evening, it was morning, Yom HaShishi. So the Gemara asks, what is this extra letter, HaShishi? There's an extra hey. We know there's no extra anything. Why do we have an extra hey? So Ba Resh Lakish comes in the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, and he says, the extra hey is a signature. What signature? Signature of the deal that Hashem made between himself and the malach that runs the planet. There's a malach that runs the earth. He says, listen, malach, we have a deal. If Am Yisrael receive the Torah down the road, if they receive the Torah, they accept it, good. We'll get the Shabbat. We'll get the Shabbat. But if they reject it, I'm bringing you back to Tov Vavo. I'm bringing you back to Tov Vavo. What's the signature that's going to remind us of this deal? The extra hay. Extra hay is what? 5. 5 books of Moses. So the Mefarshim say, wait a minute. If Hashem put the whole mountain on top of us, and he said, if I receive the Torah, good. If I don't accept the Torah, no good. Then you're going to kill me. It's not real. It's anus. It's not. You're forcing me into it. So the Tosfot say, of course it wasn't free choice. What did you think? We have some irresponsible God that's just going to leave the creation at large up to some people? That if they say no, he has to destroy everyone, the Jews, the non-Jews, the animals, everything he has to destroy just because a bunch of people decide to say no? What do you think? What kind of God do you think we have? He's not going to leave it up to you. Yes, you have choice, but it's only choice, not free choice. The secular person does not understand this. The secular person believes we have free choice. The religious person, on the other hand, the one that went to yeshiva, and if you went to most yeshivot today, he most likely did not learn about topics like wasting seed. Even though the Torah tells us, the Shulchan Aruch Meforash says, it's the number one sin in Judaism. Number one, worst possible sin is wasting seed for a man. Shulchan Aruch, go to Shulchan Aruch, you find it. It says number one. Rabbi Yosef Karo, number one sin in Judaism. Zohar Kadosh makes it even worse. Gemara, but you look online, whoever has internet, you look online, you see there's a total of maybe 7 hours. 7 hours worth of shiurim, worth of material in English about wasting seed. I'm 5.5 hours. Now this is not kavod to me. This is busha. This is busha. This is an embarrassment. Why? It's like you have it's like a problem. What? We don't have any water on the planet, but no one wants to talk about it. What do you mean? It's the number one resources you need to survive. You realize we need water. Somebody's talking about it. No, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. It's not for us. Yeah, but if we don't talk about it, everyone's going to die. They'll figure it out. That's the problem with the religious world. The religious world, we pick and choose our topics like it's a grocery list. You tell people, let's talk about wasting seed because practically every teenager, religious or non-religious, has this problem. Every adult, religious or not religious, has this problem. Unless they've worked on it. Why? They didn't know there's anything wrong with it. 3 hours ago, I got a text from somebody, a Talmid Yeshiva. This is every day because apparently I am the one that talks about this. People contact me, yeshiva, not yeshiva, religious, not religious. People contact constantly. And they say, listen, I have a problem. How do I stop? Okay, watch this shiur, watch this shiur, watch this shiur. It's all education based. But the point is that No one knew there's anything wrong with it. Even though the Torah tells us the number one sin in Judaism. So you see how far we are? If it was like a chumrah or a minag, like wearing a hat. Wearing a hat's a minag. It's not halacha. It's a hat. That's a nice minag that started recent, relatively recent. In the old days, they used to wear the turban. They didn't wear hats. So it's a minag. It's a nice minag. If someone says, listen, I don't feel like wearing a hat. I don't feel like wearing a hat. Okay, don't wear a hat. You keep Shabbat? Keep Shabbat. Keep kosher? Keep kosher. Tahat mishpacha? Tahat mishpacha. You learn Torah every day? Learn Torah every day. Chazaku baruch. Alvay all Am Yisrael to be like you. Alvay all of Am Yisrael will be like you. Learn Torah. Tahat mishpacha. Kosher. Shabbat. What's the problem? You don't want to wear a hat? Don't wear a hat. What do I care about this? It's a minag. It's not as like, it's a minag. It's nice. It's like you like potato chips or you like, I don't know, Pringles or something. I don't know. It's a minag. It's nice. Good for you. You want to wear a hat? Wear a hat. The key is the ikar. The ikar. Do you keep the ikar? Do you keep Shabbat? Do you learn Torah every day? Do you have Yirat Shamayim? Do you learn Musa? Do you do anything that Hashem said? Hashem didn't say wear a hat. Do you do everything Hashem says? If you do everything Hashem says, I have no problem with you. But if you turned the hat into the ikar and Shabbat into tafel, wearing a hat is important, but keeping Shabbat is not so important, then we have a problem. And unfortunately, Rabotai Yekarim, that's the problem we have. The religious world has turned Judaism into an exterior-based religion. People express their religiosity through their exterior. No one really double checks what's in the interior, what's under the engine. And that's why a lot of people that are religious come to me and they ask me the very same questions that Baalei Tshuva ask. The very same question that new converts ask. Basic level questions. Until this day, I'm doing this 4 years plus a little bit over 4 years. I don't think any religious person has ever asked me a more complicated question than a non-religious person. It's all very basic level questions. Proofs, halacha, basic stuff. Nothing like, meaning it's the same problem in both places, but it's treated differently. It's treated differently. On the right hand, the secular person didn't realize it was a problem until you woke him up. On the left hand, with the religious guy miskin. Why? He's been learning for 20 years, but he doesn't realize he's been missing half the material because the teachers didn't teach him. Because they thought, that the teachers thought that if I teach this young generation about wasting seed, or I teach them about Yirat Shamayim, or I teach them their obligation to learn Musar, I teach them that they actually have to fear God in order for them to even have a chance to actually believe in Him at all these basic level stuff. They're not going to come anymore. They're not going to donate anymore. They're not going to this, they're not going to that, and we start doing cheshbonot of what other people are going to do because they don't like it. And the reality is, Rabotai, this creates a very big black hole within our education system. So a lot of the religious Jews ask the same questions. Ask the very same basic level questions as the Baal Tshuva. And the reason why is because they also don't know. They also don't know. No one ever taught them. I can tell you from experience that most religious people that watch me, they watch me simply because they want to learn about Yirat Shamayim. In the beginning, this was unusual to me. Because I come from the secular world. He says, what do you mean? I'm secular, so I'm learning about Yirat Shamayim because that's the foundation. Why are you learning for me? I was a Mechalel Shabbat a few years ago. What do you have to learn from me? He says, no. I'm learning for 20 years. I never learned about Yirat Shamayim. He says, what'd you learn? If you learn about Yirat Shamayim, what did you learn? Oh, we learn about loving Hashem. We learn alachot. We learn about different things, but we don't know about Yirat Shamayim. I said, yeah, but that's the foundation. Yirat Hashem, iotzaro. Hashem says to the prophet, the treasure of Hashem is Yirat Shamayim. And the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, He didn't create the world for any other reason other than Yirat Shamayim, other than to fear Him. That's the only reason why He created the world, for you to fear Him. So what did you learn for 20 years? That's what I learned. So there's like a missing ingredient in our Judaism today. And that also leads us to the third outcome, the third part. The third part is the outcome. The outcome of all of this is that we have very little Jewish pride. Very, very little Jewish pride. Very few people are actually proud Jews. Then you could go and start saying, no, but what about all the guys that from Chabad that are putting tefillin in the middle of the street? Isn't that Jewish pride? No, it's not Jewish pride. It's something completely different. It's a mission that they have for certain things. It's not Jewish pride. Well, what about the people that, I don't know, have the parades? Parades about how, okay, it's nice, but it's not Jewish pride. If you look at all of the other nations around us, if you go to the Spanish people, you'll see they stick with each other. You'll see that when there's a certain holiday, they have no questions in their mind of whether they're going to put the Christmas lights on, or whether they're going to put this lights on, or this candle, or this flag, or this statue. They don't ask for permission from the city. They don't ask if you like it, if it's going to disturb you. They just have their parade. They're proud of it. They're ecstatic about it, and they're looking at you as like, why don't you come join us? Like, why wouldn't you want to be part of it? You look at the Irish people, same thing. They've made it a national holiday to drink. It's not just for the Irish people, it's for anyone. But really, the Irish people started it. You look at the Italians, every Italian will tell you, no, come on, you eat pasta, you eat this, you come eat it out, so I'll bless it for you. I remember my secular, my non-Jewish friends in public school, I would tell them, no, I think it's not kosher, because we still kept kosher meat. Even though we weren't keeping Shabbat, we're keeping kosher meat. So he's like, what, just come eat with us. We'll go into a restaurant or go into whatever. He goes, I said, no, it's not kosher. He said, what is kosher? What's you want to bless it? I'll bless it for you. The Italian guy would tell me he's going to bless my food. But to him, he's perfectly proud of his linguine and his pasta and his holidays and his Italian flag and the soccer and all the things that make them what they are. Same thing with black people. You're never going to see a black person, at least not a normal one, that's ashamed of being black. In fact, he's proud of it. He's even proud of the slavery that happened 400 years ago. Some of them are still mourning over it, even though it has no connection to today's black people. But the reality is, they're upset and they're proud at the same time. They're upset and they're proud, but they're never embarrassed. They're never embarrassed. They're never embarrassed if they're normal. And many of them are wonderful people. Some of my converts, some of my students are black people. They're amazing people. Baruch Hashem, Hashem gave me the ability not to see color. I don't see color. I see color like I see blue and black and all that stuff. But as far as whether you're black, green, Chinese, not Chinese, my whole life I never cared what you are. It doesn't make a difference to me. So I speak very comfortable about topics like this. Most people are very shaky when they talk about black people and Spanish people, and because in reality they're racist. So they know that when they say black, it doesn't, to them. Me, I see everybody's the same. So I'm very comfortable talking about topics like this in my shiurim. Anyone's uncomfortable, it's because they're racist, not because of me. So the reality is you're never going to see a normal black person embarrassed of being black. If he's normal. If he's not normal, it's a different situation. Same thing with a Jew, same thing with everybody else. But with Jews, unfortunately, it's very rare to find one that's proud. It's very rare to find one that's proud. Now you can say, why? He's religious, he's not making proud? No. A proud Jew, by definition, number one, has to be a Jew. Has to be a Jew. A Jew, what is the definition of a Jew? Does a Jew mean because your mom is Jewish? Technically, halachically, yes, but in reality, no. In reality, no. Halachically, yes, he's a Jew. He's going to be judged as a Jew. But is he really a Jew? No. What makes you a Jew is the Torah. Before we got to Mount Sinai, we were Am Yisrael. We're Bnei Yisrael. After Matan Torah, we're Am Yisrael. We're a nation of Israel. Later on, fast forward, where you have the first time in the entire Tanakh that's written Jew is Mordechai Yehudi. Meaning, what changed between Avraham Avinu and Mordechai? Something that happened in between. What was it? Matan Torah. The Torah is what makes you Jewish. Nothing else. The fact that your mom is Jewish is giving you a ticket in. You don't have to convert. But what keeps you Jewish, what makes you Jewish, is whether you abide by the Torah or not. Now, if you abide by the Torah, that means you have to abide by all of the laws that are applicable to you. One of those laws is a law that's called Ocheach Tochiach et Amitecha. You must rebuke your brother. Meaning, you see your brother Mechalel Shabbat. One of your friends drives on Shabbat every week. One of your friends works on Shabbat. One of your friends eats not kosher. One of your friends is going out with a non-Jewish woman or non-Jewish man. You see this, you are obligated to say something. Especially because he's close to you. Especially because he's within your inner circle. You're obligated to say something. Why? Because you're obligated to be zealous. There's obviously degrees of zealousness. If you're as zealous as Pinchas, you're allowed to even kill somebody. But in reality, none of us are. So we just say words. Don't kill anybody. But that obligation is what makes you Jewish. The other thing that makes you Jewish, according to the Gemara in Masechet Megillah, is if you go against Avodah Zarah. The Gemara asks, why is Mordechai the first person that's called Yehudi? What makes him a Yehudi? What made Batya, the daughter of Paro, become a Yehudiya? There was no Torah yet. So why did Hashem make her Batya? Batya means the daughter of Hashem. Her father really was Paro Rasha. Why did Hashem change her name to she's my daughter? Why did he let her, raise the most important human being that ever lived, Moshe Rabbeinu? Why? Because she biza, she went against idolatry. She went against idolatry. So here we see just two simple things. Number one, you see that in order for you to be a Jew by definition, it has nothing to do with the hat. It has nothing to do with whether you're black or white. It has to do with how proud are you of the Torah. To such an extent that you're willing to get yourself out of the comfort zone and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your surroundings, hey, by the way, every time you violate Shabbat, you're going against my father. And he happens to be your father too. Every time you steal, you're stealing from my people. Every time, how proud of you of being Jewish? The second thing is, are you proud enough that when you see the missionaries that are roaming the streets like cockroaches to say something? Because they don't ask twice before they knock on a Jewish door. They see the mezuzah, you tell them, don't come to houses with the mezuzah on. What do? Dafka, they go to the house with the mezuzah on. Why? Because that's what they want. That's what they want. They want the Jew that's practicing, the Jew that has a mezuzah. How proud are you of the Torah to the point where you're going to say something, do something, or at the very least, do the same thing they are. They're going door to door, at least tell the people in the Beit Knesset to come to a shiur. The reality is, Rabotai, is that we're not so proud. We're not so proud because you see people in the airport. Anytime I travel, I always see, especially morning flights, I see people pray. If you see the Arabs pray, they pray in the middle of Broadway. They in the middle of traffic, they'll pray. In the middle of traffic, they'll pray. They have this, their kiruv, L'Avdil, is called Dawa. Dawa is kiruv for them, to get people to come closer to Islam. And their mission for the last 20 years is to get the entire world to become Muslim. To such an extent that every Muslim, by default, every single one of them, in order for them to be a Muslim, they have to do dawah. So all these people in the kiosks that are selling halal food, every single one of them is doing dawah. They actually was an undercover report done in Israel, and it's published in English and Hebrew by this journalist called Tzvi Yecheskeli. And he came to the United States. He went to different countries, and he talked to the people running the halal foods and so on. He told them, oh, why do you have these stickers on top of your cart? You're selling halal food. Why do you have these stickers? And the guy tells him outright, he goes, because we believe that God runs the world, and that Muhammad is our Messiah. He's like, yeah, but that's your belief. That's your belief. It's not everybody else's belief. He goes, no, we hope that by people eating the food, they become Muslim too. They become Muslim too. And he tells them, I give them stickers, I give them presents. I tell them that if they become Muslim, they go to Gan Eden. This is a guy selling hot dogs. He's selling knishes. Not one, not two, not three. Every single one of them, one after another. So he says, oh, so you're doing dawah while you're working. He goes, no. Dawah is what I'm doing. The food is secondary. That's why they have 2 billion people. Because they're proud. They're proud of what they are. They're proud of their falsehood. They have the shekel, but they work it like it's true. We have the emet, but we work it like it's false. That's the difference. The hot dog stand guy is going to try to recruit every single one of you. Just give him a chance. The missionary will try to recruit every single one of you. Just give him a chance. But the local rabbi, you tell him, listen, Kvod Harav, yeah, I want to learn today. You know what? I'm busy today. Come back next week. I'm interested in converting. Yeah, I don't do that. Can you connect me with somebody? No, you just call the Bedin. Everybody's busy. Everybody's doing something else. Everybody's not interested. Everybody's ashamed. The Arabs that have the falsehood and the Christians that have the falsehood will pray in the middle of the street. The Jew in the corner, hiding. There's always like a Jew in the corner of every airport praying Tehillim. No one is praying in the middle. No one has the chutzpah to pray in the middle of the airport with talit and tefillin and explain to them, by the way, guys, this is what the Mashiach is going to look like. Just so you know, it's not your J.C. Penney, it's not your Muhammad. The guy with tefillin, that's what the Mashiach is going to look like. Get used to it. You don't have to say those words, but the reality is when you pray in the corner, that means you're ashamed. But that's all of us. We're all victims, myself included. We're all ashamed. We're all in the corner. Why? We don't want to disturb anybody. We don't want to put anything on anyone. We're all like scared of our own shadows. We're scared of our own shadows. And that's the problem. That's the problem, that we don't have any Jewish pride. We don't have any pride of the Torah emet that we have. We don't have. We're scared of our own shadows. We're scared to do kiruv. Every time I tell somebody, listen, why don't you do kiruv? Why don't you get people to do tshuva? No, I don't know. What do you mean I don't know? Why don't you know? They're already like somewhat religious. If I tell them about your shiurim, maybe they're not going to like it. If I tell them about this, maybe this. They always have all these cheshbonot, all of these accounting they do. There's all this accounting. But if I tell them, listen, I have a deal for you. We can make 50,000 next week. Oh, okay, but it's going to be really hard. Oh, okay, fine. But you're not going to be able to sleep for 3 months. Oh, okay, no problem. And by the way, you have to divorce your wife. Oh, okay, no problem. Oh, and you have to sell your kids. Oh, okay, no problem. Everything, no problem. No, wife for money, no problem. For money, no problem. But to go save a Jew, there's always this accounting. Oh, I'm busy, and I don't have, and no one has any money all of a sudden. They have a $5 million house, but don't have any money. They have 50 friends, but nobody comes to the shiur. They have a mouth that doesn't stop talking, but they can't tell anybody the truth. That's what's missing. That's what's missing, Rabotai. Both in the religious world and the secular world. But the secular world will only do tshuva if the religious world does tshuva first. The secular world will only do tshuva if the religious world does tshuva first. Why? Because the secular world will never know. No one's teaching them. They don't go to Beit Knesset. And even if they do, their entire Torah for the week is what they learn in Sudash Lishit, the 5 minutes they let some guy talk. That's their Torah for the entire week, if they even come back every week. So unless the religious guy that's talking for the 5 minutes actually does tshuva himself and starts utilizing that 5 minutes to tell him the truth. Hey, by the way, all of you guys that drove on Shabbat, you should know, according to the Rambam, in Chot Shabbat, chapter 30, it says a Jew that's a Mechalel Shabbat is considered 100% an idol worshiper. Just so you know, Shabbat Shalom. That's a shiur. Why? Someone's going to change from that shiur. They may hate you, a few of them. They may even throw a few salads at you. But one guy's going to change. One guy is going to change. That's enough. That's enough. Do you need to be a big rabbi to say what I just said? No. Do you need to be a big Talmid Chacham? No. All you need to do is speak. And be proud of what you are. And don't do any accounting. And that's what's missing. That's what's missing. We're missing that zealousness. We're missing that Jewish pride that we're proud to be religious. We're proud to have the truth because it's the truth. Because it's the truth, let's be proud of it. And that's, you don't need to be a big speaker. You don't need to be have the gift of gab. You don't have to be a certain look. You don't have to be a certain height. You don't need to be anything. All you need to be is proud. At least as proud as the Muslims. At least as proud as the Christians. That's it. At least as proud as the Italian guy with his flag. At least as proud as him. There's nothing wrong with him. As a matter of fact, I envy him. I envy all of them. Why? I wish we were like them. We wish we were as proud as the Arabs praying in the middle of Broadway, stopping traffic, without a care in the world. Without a care in the world, they stop traffic every day. Us, if there's a few people online at the supermarket, like, oh, no, let the Arab guy go, let the Arab guy go. No, we could wait, we have the Torah, let him go first. We don't want the Arab guy or the Christian guy to wait online at the supermarket. We let him go ahead of us. Why? Chas v'shalom, he's going to wait. We don't want to distract him. Some people will even say it's Chilul Hashem. Chilul Hashem, to make somebody else wait online with us. They stop traffic. Why? Because they want you to be just like them. But we don't want anyone to be like us. Why? Because we ourselves don't want to be us. We ourselves are not so proud to be ourselves. And that's the biggest problem. And the reason why is because most of Judaism today is based on exterior. It's based on the exterior. It's based on the hats and the jackets and the beards that are free. That's why even a goat has one. And all of these things that are exterior, the tzitzit, and all of these different things that are nice. But it doesn't make you Jewish. It's good things. Chazak Baruch for doing it. I have a beard also. And, you know, I don't wear a hat, but hey, I don't think that makes me less Jewish. But a lot of people will tell you that if you don't have a beard, you shouldn't be a rabbi. If you don't wear a hat, you're on a lesser level of Jewish. As a matter of fact, there's certain sects of Judaism that if you wear a different hat than them, they think you're lesser of a Jew. There's different types of hats now. Certain sects of Judaism wear the round hat. Other sects wear different. There's different types of hats. So, which means that each one of the sects that wears a different hat believes that their hat makes them more Jewish. Their beard makes them more Jewish. You groom your beard? Oh, you're less Jewish because we don't groom our beards. We let it go. Oh, your payas are this way. They're behind the ear. Oh, that's less. Our payas are on the side. They go all the way. And so on and so forth. So, this type of Judaism cannot last. Because it's fake. It's fake. It's not real Judaism. It's not real Judaism. Not one time do you see in the entire 5 books of Moses. Not one time do you see any of the major leaders defined by their looks. Modesty is a kal v'chomer. It's of course, it's a needless to say. The women and the men need to be modest. But Moshe Rabbeinu did not become Moshe Rabbeinu because of his payas. Avraham Avinu did not become Avraham Avinu because of his hat. Yaakov Avinu was not selected to be Yaakov Avinu because of his beard. How? How were they selected? Based on the Yirat Shamayim. Based on their Yirat Shamayim. When you start with Avraham Avinu, at the Akedat Yitzchak, you say this verse every day in prayer. Every day you say this. Now I know you fear me. Hashem tells him, now I know you fear me. Don't touch the boy. Now I know you fear me. Now you know I fear me. What? The first 9 tests you didn't know. The first 9 tests, I left my father's house. I went into the Egypt over there, starving, this, all these different tests. You didn't know I feared you. Now I know you fear me. The 10th test, Akedat Yitzchak, Hashem says you got to the highest level. What did you get to? Yirat Shamayim. Meaning to have Yirat Shamayim is the highest compliment you could have. That's what made him a Jew. Not the beard, not the hat, not the exterior. You want to do the exterior, good. But it's not going to make you a Jew. What's going to make you a Jew is how you express this. How the exterior is matching the interior. But if the interior is rotten, no exterior is going to save us. And that's one ingredient that's missing today. Most of us are worried too much about the exterior. As soon as you see somebody just did tshuva 3 months ago, already has a beard. In my opinion, you shouldn't have a beard until you at least read the Chumash 5 times. Why? Because at least you know something. You know something. You read commentary. You read the Chumash 5 times. Okay, you know something. Okay, now you're allowed to have a beard. But today, every joker wears a beard. He looks like he's a rabbi already. And unfortunately, sometimes it's you can't do anything about it. And because of this, we have a lot of issues in Judaism today. I have a guy that I helped him do tshuva 4 years ago. And he decided to speed up the process. He said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to Kola. I'm going to leave everything. Leave the job, leave the Kola, leave everything. And I'm going to be an Avrech. I said, yeah, it's a big adjustment. It's a big adjustment to go from working all day to learning all day. Why don't you do a little bit of both in the beginning? Study and work. Because it's a big test, unless you have a bunch of money, which I knew he didn't. No, I'm going to do it. You're just slowing me down. All of a sudden, I helped you do tshuva, now I'm slowing you down. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Good luck to you. Seder. He did what he did. He had a lot of big, difficult tests. And he went to a kollel, wanted to kill his wife a few times because of the financial issues that they were going through. But nonetheless, within maybe a year after that, he decided the next big move. What's the next big move? He's going to open a synagogue. Now, we're talking about someone that is 18 months in. 18 months in, he wants to open a synagogue. Meaning, now he's going to be responsible for telling everybody the day-to-day halachot, and so on and so forth. Now, this is a problem. Why is this a problem? Because he still doesn't know anything yet himself. He still hasn't finished the Chumash twice. But this type of mentality is there. Why? Because he learned a little bit, got the beard, he thought that's Judaism. The exterior is Judaism. So now he would, one time I remember when I knew already he's going in the wrong direction, he asked me, he's like, listen, are you also going to wear white? I said, what do you mean wear white? He goes, no, on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, you're going to wear white? I said, no, we don't wear white anymore. That's a minhag that's lost many, many years ago. It's not something that we do. And actually, Rabbi says that only chutzpanim do it. Because no one else does it. You look very odd doing it. In a world that has nothing, no such thing. It's like, no, what are you talking about? Me and all my friends are wearing white. It's like, oh, every one of them looks like a Kabbalist. This guy started keeping Shabbat last week. This one started keeping Shabbat 2 weeks ago. This one is still not keeping Shabbat. But everybody has turned it into exterior Judaism. Why? Leadership. Leadership. He left me. He went somewhere else. The leader in the next place told him he's doing good. Just grow a beard, wear white. You could start a kehillah within 9 months. And that's what happened. So this wouldn't happen. This wouldn't happen if there was real leaders in different places. If everybody was proud to be a Jew in different places. By proud to be a Jew, I constantly tell you the same thing. It means you have Yirat Shamayim. Yirat Shamayim to such an extent that know that it's your obligation, not only to fulfill the truth, but to tell people about it. Tell people, listen, you have to keep Shabbat. Tell people you have to keep kosher. Tell people the truth. And not be ashamed of it. Not be ashamed of it. And that's the main thing that I think we're missing today. Now, I'm sure you guys have some questions we can talk about. So go ahead. You got a question.
Yeah, so if you know your friend doesn't care, you might go against even further from it. You should still tell him? Like Bukira or...
Okay, so the halacha is this. If it's a rabbinical mitzvah, There's a ochech tochech et amitecha, you must rebuke your brother, mitzvah, that you must rebuke him if it's a rabbinical mitzvah like Purim, or like Chanukah, or like Netilat Yadayim, or even a blessing over food. Blessing over food, these are all rabbinical mitzvot. If you know that if you tell your friend, listen, by the way, you just ate that, before you eat that apple, make a blessing, make a blessing. And you know, this guy is such a like malicious guy that he's dafka not going to do it, that he's going to start eating in your face and start making a scene out of it and so on. It's a mitzvah not to tell him. Mitzvah not to tell him. Why? Because you know for sure he's not going to listen to it. But that's only because it's a rabbinical mitzvah. If it's a biblical mitzvah, Shabbat, Tarat Mishpacha, Kosher, Tefillin, all of these biblical mitzvot, regardless of whether he listens or he doesn't listen, you have to tell him. Up to what extent? The Rambam says up to the extent where he hits you. Up to that extent. Meaning, I'm going to tell him to go keep Shabbat. He's going to threaten to slap me. He's not going to slap you? Tell him. I'm going to tell him to keep Shabbat. This time he's going to slap me. Okay, if he slaps you, then you stop telling him after that. But until he slaps you, you keep telling him. Over and over and over and over again. That's the actual halacha. So, what happened as far as what's lost in translation today is that most people just read the first part I told you, which is the rabbinical mitzvah. Don't tell him if he's not going to listen. They turned it into, if it's a biblical mitzvah, also don't tell him. But that's not true. The actual halacha is, if it's a biblical mitzvah, you have to tell him. So your friend or your family member or whoever it is, the reality is that you have to tell them. You have to tell them one way or another. And one secret I could tell you guys in regards to kiruv in general is that without mesirut nefesh, without self-sacrifice, there's no success. Because the Rambam says that at the end of times, a lot of the things we saw in Egypt, we're going to see again. But this time it's going to be magnified. How so? Just like we had 3 days of darkness in Egypt, before Mashiach comes, it's going to be 15 days of darkness. Because in Egypt, he was only getting rid of the Egyptians, the firstborn of the Egyptians, and the wicked Jews that didn't want to do tshuva. Rest of the world, in China, in Africa, and the rest of the world out there, he left them alone. When the Mashiach comes, it's cheshbon for everyone. You did tshuva as a Jew or as a non-Jew, you did tshuva, you're good. You didn't do tshuva, you're finished. No more tshuva. Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 4a, at the end of 3b, talks specifically about how there's no more conversions, there's no more tshuva once the Mashiach arrives. Why? Because at that point, there's no more free choice. You already know the truth. You already know the God of Israel. That's it. You're finished. So whatever you are at that point, that's it. But that's why it's going to be 15 days of darkness. Why? A lot of people. A lot of people. And that's why it says, actually, at the end of days, Shem Erachem, just the first count is 2/3 of the world will be wiped away. 2/3 of the world. Meaning 1/3 have a chance to make it. Not for sure, but they have a chance. So now, the Sfarim HaKadoshim say that the Mashiach himself, how did he, this obviously is major merit. This is not like the Christians think it's some guy that died that's coming back to life, or it's God. It's a regular person. The Mashiach is a regular person. Obviously, once he becomes Mashiach, Hashem instills power in him, and Ruach Elokim, and so on and so forth. But in reality, before all of that takes place, he's a regular person. He's an average Joe. How did he get to such a point? How did he get to such a point to inherit such an amazing neshama that the Chachamim say is partially Moshe Rabbeinu, partially David HaMelech? How? Mesirut nefesh. Self-sacrifice. 3 types of sufferings were given to Am Yisrael. 1/3 was given to Avot. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David, Shlomo, Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham, Aaron, all of the giants. 1/3 of all of Am Yisrael's suffering was given to them. 1/3 of the suffering was given to Dorei Hashmad, the generations of pogroms, inquisitions, Holocaust, Hashem Erachem, all the nightmares Am Yisrael has gone through for the last 3,300 years. 1/3 of all the suffering to them. And 1/3, Rabotai, to Mashiach, by himself. That soul that's gonna save all of us has 1/3 of all the world's suffering. And every day, Chazal say, every single day, he has more and more wounds because of our sins. And each Rosh Chodesh, every Rosh Chodesh, all of the Avot, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, David, Shlomo, all of them come to that soul, come to that neshama, and beg him, please continue. Please continue taking on more suffering. And what's going to be the big busha for all of us when we see Mashiach? Alvai, we get the merit to see Mashiach. What's going to be the big busha? When each one of us is going to see which wound we caused, which suffering we caused on him. Imagine, Gdol Ador is suffering because of you. Gdol Ador is suffering because of you. He has a scar over here because you mechalet Shabbat, because you went out with a non-Jew one time, because you ate a little shawarma that's not kosher from the halal guy. It's only a sandwich. Okay, he's suffering now because of you. It's a nightmare. That's the busha we're going to have, if we make it. But how do we get to such a point? Obviously we have no connection with me. We're not Mashiach. It's teaching us that in order for Mashiach to be Mashiach, he has to not only welcome Mesirut Nefesh, but expect it. Expect Mesirut Nefesh. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, all of these giants, Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice, was a given. Meaning the Torah is telling us that in order for you to have even a remote chance of being a leader, you have to already get used to sacrificing. Sacrificing your comfort zone. Sacrificing everything that makes you comfortable, start there. You're comfortable financially, start there. You're comfortable with your time, you have a lot of extra time, start there. You're comfortable with your learning, start there. Make that uncomfortable. If you're comfortable with your learning, that means you're not learning anything difficult. If you're comfortable, if you're not sweating every day at the end of your learning and thinking about it constantly, that means you're not learning anything difficult. It means you're just like a grinding water. You're just learning just to repeat the same thing over and over again, but nothing ever changes. If your neshama is not traumatized at the end of every single day because you learned something that you have no idea what happened, what's right, what's left, something is happening, I can't believe it, and you're not walking back and forth because there's some chidush in yourself, something's wrong with your learning. I ask people all the time, "No, what'd you learn this week?" People that are religious, not people that are not religious. This is for religious people. What'd you learn this week? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You went to yeshiva? Yeah, I went to yeshiva. You learned, you had shiurim? Yeah, what'd you learn? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? So what'd you do for a whole week? I don't remember. So it was better off the week never existed. It means that you're not pushing yourself. So if your learning is not pushed, start there. If your time, start there. If your money, start there. Whatever is your comfort zone, start moving. Start moving. Start getting used to self-sacrifice. Because if you want to have the merit of saving a Jew from Gehenom and bring him to Gan Eden, you have to realize you're going to have to sacrifice something for that. Because the reward is endless. The reward is extraordinary. You can't do it comfort. You can't do it just like walking in, expecting there's going to be a standing ovation for you. It's not going to happen. And that's how you look at all of the Gedolei Ador, each one of the Sipurei Tzadikim, each one of them is this. One story that I remember is Rav Ovadia, during the, Alav Shalom, during the Yamim Noraim, it was a few rich guys donated a helicopter for him to go from place to place during the 10 days of tshuva, in order for him to give as many lectures as possible. So he would go literally from stadium to stadium. Each stadium, 5, 10, 20,000 people. One day, as soon as he finished the lecture, he came back into the helicopter and he told the pilot, immediately to the hospital. Immediately go to the hospital. Don't go back anywhere else. Go straight to the hospital. So on the way there, they asked her, like, Kvod Harav, what happened? He goes, I have a heart attack. I believe I had a heart attack. It's like, when did you start feeling this pain? Like, when was this pain? Does it just start now? Did it start in the middle of the lecture? He goes, no, it was on the way there. So when we were flying there, I had the heart attack. I had the pain in my chest and I was having a heart attack. He goes, so Kvod Harav, why don't you just tell me to stop, turn around, go to the hospital? You just sacrifice your life. He goes, do you know how many people were waiting to go learn Torah? You think I have any possibility to give any accounting to my heart? People are waiting to learn Torah. Do you think I can give any consideration to my heart? Bichlal? That's Mesirut Nefesh. Now, we're not Rav Ovadia. We're not Rav Ovadia, but we can get 5 guys to come to shiur. We can get a few CDs to a few people. We can donate maaser. We can do the basic things that we do. But just a little more. Push us a little more. Instead of learning 5 minutes, learn 10 minutes. Instead of learning an hour, learn 2 hours. Instead of just learning the stuff you're comfortable with, learn something that you're a little uncomfortable with. That's it. That's Mesirut Nefesh. It starts there. Once you start doing that, once you open up that door for Hashem, and He shows, this guy really wants to do tshuva himself, regardless, religious, not religious. Once you open that door, a lot of good things happen after that. The Siyat Dishmaya starts, and a lot of amazing things happen. But until we actually become like Nachshon ben Aminadav, Nachshon ben Aminadav was the one that saved all of Am Yisrael when we got to Yam Suf. Until Nachshon, Am Yisrael did not have the merit. Am Yisrael did not have the merit to cross the sea of reeds. It wouldn't open, it wouldn't split. Moshe Rabbeinu screamed to Hashem, what are we going to do? On the right side and the left side there's scorpions and snakes. There's nothing we can do. Behind us is the Egyptians. In front of us is an ocean. Hashem says, Mati tzak elai. What are you screaming to me for? Tell Am Yisrael to move forward. What do you mean move forward? There's an ocean. Nachshon ben Aminadav and the tribe of Yehuda, and then after that Benjamin, all understood the point. Let's go into the water. Why? Hashem wants us to do Mesirut Nefesh. Hashem wants us to sacrifice. Sacrifice our comfort zone. Our comfort zone at that time was our logic. Our logic, it didn't make sense that Hashem would split the ocean. So that's where we have to go. That's what we have to do today. In the American world, we're very comfortable. American Judaism is very, very comfortable. People do everything they possibly can to be more comfortable. If the old seats weren't good enough, now they got leather seats. If the leather seats weren't good enough, now it's heated leather seats. And if that's not good enough, now they have even heated doorknobs for the cars, just in case, chas v'shalom, your little fingers will touch something cold. And if that's not enough, the steering wheel is heated also, because chas v'shalom, your steering wheel will be cold, or normal temperature. And it's all these convenient things, which, listen, enjoy. I enjoy it also. We had a conversation, my wife and I admitted this a few weeks ago, so it's just repeating the same busha that I had, but it's okay, it helps me do tshuva. We had to consider, we were talking, my wife and I, about doing aliyah. Doing aliyah. And because of what I do, or what we do really, my wife and I, she's a much bigger part of it than I am, it's difficult. Not because of the money, not because of where we live. If it was up to that, I'd leave tomorrow. With no money, with nothing. It makes no difference to me. Go to Eretz Yisrael. Why? I know that over there, B'ezrat Hashem, just like Hashem takes care of us over here, I'll take care of us over there. But what's the consideration? Consideration is that there's really more of a need for what we do here than there is in Israel. Much more of a need. In Israel, there's quite a few truth speakers in Hebrew. It's quite a few. Oh Hashem. Let's say there's at least a dozen. That's not really a lot, but relative to the English speakers in the world, it's considered a lot. In the English world, you can count them on one hand. You can count them on one hand. There's a lot of English speakers. There's a lot of really good speakers. a lot of entertaining speakers, but people that actually help people do tshuva, according to one of the big rabbis, one of the biggest rabbis in Jerusalem that I know, he told me, in his opinion, there's only 5 in the entire world. That's his opinion. I think his opinion is worth something. He says that people that actually get people to do tshuva. Not people that speak. There's a lot of people that speak, there's 1,000 of them. But people that actually get people to do tshuva. Since you actually help people do tshuva, you can't just go wherever you want. You have to go wherever you're needed. So then, to go back to the story, we're considering, okay, so what's going to change if we do go there? Maybe I'll travel back and, take breaks and so on and so forth. But what's the lifestyle change? Let's start talking about the logistics of it. Logistics of moving to Eretz Yisrael. Do you know what the first consideration was? Amazon. That was the first consideration. I'm dead serious. As embarrassing as it is, I know it was a really consideration. Why? The convenience of Amazon boxes arriving at my house helps my life. Why? That means I don't have to leave the house. I could learn, I could do kiruv, I don't have to leave the house. And also, Baruch Hashem, my wife doesn't have to leave much. Why? Whatever I want, I can arrive at my house. That's not the same everywhere else. But that convenience is something that we have to consider. We have to debate it. Are we willing to lose it? Yeah, they have something there, but it's not the same. But that's the convenience we're used to in America. We're not willing to be inconvenienced. We're not willing to be inconvenienced. Tell people, listen, can you give me a ride? You're out of the way. Why? Are you carrying the guy on your head? You're in a car. You just press the button. You're out of the way 15 minutes. Why, you carrying the guy for 15 minutes on your head now, or you're riding a camel in the heat? You're an air conditioner. You have a shiur Torah maybe on a CD player. What's the big deal to give the guy a ride? We're very, very reluctant to make ourselves inconvenienced. But when it comes to kiruv, when it comes to Torah, when it comes to the truth, you have to be inconvenienced. You have to be. It's the only way. It's the only chance we have. Next question, shorter answer.
I was talking about I give you that's an idea of, let's say, your Shem Das, your Shem Torah. But at the same time, at what point are we able to transition to Ahava? Even Avraham Avinu himself wasn't able to even get to that point, it seems like. Because only then, after the Akedah, then Hashem said, now you have Yirah.
Okay. So the Chachamim teach us the following. The Avat Hashem and Yirat Hashem each have multiple levels. It's not just Ava or just Yirah. There's levels of each. Now, the lowest level of Yirat Shamayim is purely fearing punishment. I don't want to go against God because I don't want to lose money. I don't want to go against God because I don't want to go to Gehinnom forever. Or I don't want to go to Gehinnom for 3 days even. Whatever it is. There's actually a story in Reshit Chochmah. A tzaddik went up to Olam HaEmet and they told him, listen, you did fantastic. Except this one small thing you messed up on. So you have a choice. Either come back to the world as a Gilgul again, live a whole new life, or go to Gehinnom for 3 days. That's it. Just go to Gehinnom for 3 days. He says, I'm not going back to the world for 70 more years. Or who knows? Maybe I'll be a Rasha this time. You know how hard I worked to get here to do something? I'll go to Gehinnom for 3 days. I'll go to Gehinnom for 3 days. Okay, no problem. They take the Malachei Chabalah, Shem Yerachem, giants, come take him. They're not so nice. They come take him and they start walking. And as they're walking closer and closer to the gate of Gehinnom, he starts feeling the heat. He's like, what, we here? He goes, no, we're miles away. He goes, it's hot though. He goes, oh, we're far. They get closer. He's like, I can't take it. It's too hot. He goes, well, we still have 2-3 miles left. What are you scared of? He goes, no, I can't take it. I can't take it. He goes, what can't take it? You already made your own judgment. He started crying to Hashem, Hashem, help me, Hashem, help me, Hashem, help me. And Hashem sent an angel. He goes, because you were a tzaddik, I'll give you the ability to change your mind. What do you want? He says, I want to go back for 70 years. Go back for 70 years and try my luck, then go to Gehinnom for 3 days. It's Reshit Chochmah. So now, Rabotai, the lowest level of Yirat Shamayim is not to be that guy. Not to go to Gehinnom for 1 minute. That's the lowest Yirah. The highest level of Yirat Shamayim is Yirat HaRomemut. Yirat HaRomemut meaning You fear Hashem not because of punishment only, but rather also because you fear His majesty. You fear hurting the relationship between you and Him. What is this like? A relationship between a normal husband and a wife. Today I always have to say normal, because today there's a lot of things that are... Normal is not normal anymore. So yeah, so you guys understand what I mean when I say normal. Normal is not cuckoo. Even though the normal today is cuckoo. But the thing is though is that a normal couple is not going to yell at each other. The husband is not going to yell at the wife is not going to yell at the husband. Not because they're scared that there's going to be violence. He's not scared that if he yells at her, she's going to slap him in the face, or she's not going to yell at him because she's scared that he's going to slap her. That's not the reason they're not doing it. If they're normal, they're not doing it because they're afraid of hurting the relationship. She knows that if she disrespects her husband, he's going to be offended. If he's offended, it's going to hurt him. It's going to hurt her too. Why? Because his neshama is like one with hers. That's a good quality couple. That's on the same page. She doesn't want to hurt him because she knows that number one, hurting him is hurting herself. She doesn't want to do it. So it's not because of she's afraid he's going to beat her up or anything like that. We're not in Saddam Hussein's country. We're here. We're normal. We're not afraid of getting beat up. We just don't want to yell at each other. We don't want to disrespect each other simply because we don't want to offend each other. We don't want to hurt the relationship. I know that if I yell at her, she's not going to be open to me anymore. She's not going to talk to me anymore. She's not going to smile the next time I say a joke. She's not going to even want to listen to my stories anymore. Something's going to change. The quality of the relationship is going to change forever. Even though it's one yell, something's going to change forever. It's a tattoo. It's a tattoo. Once you break that barrier, that's it. Something changes. And you have to work. And what took you 1 second to ruin, it'll take you 20 years to fix. That's what we have to. So when we care about the relationship, we don't want to do it. We don't want. Why? Because we care about the relationship. That's the highest level of Yirat Shamayim.
And how do you do that transition?
The highest level of Yirat Shamayim is when you start caring about the relationship between you and Hashem Yitbarach. Not because purely you're scared of punishment. You're always scared of punishment. That's always a necessity. But you're also scared of hurting that connection with Him. And that, Rabotai Yekarim, Chazal says, that is the beginning of Avat Hashem. The highest level of Yirat Shamayim is the beginning of loving Hashem. Which means that most people in this generation have no concept of what Avat Hashem really means. Avat Hashem means you have no choice. You have no desire. You have nothing. It's only what He wants. I ask you, so what do you want to do this weekend? What does Hashem want? What do you want to talk about? What does Hashem want? That's Avat Hashem. Avat Hashem means you've removed your desires and replaced them with God's desires. That's Avat Hashem. That's something that's very, very high level.
So you could have a Hava without Yira then?
No.
Then Avraham Avinu never had a Hava.
No, he did. That's why Hashem called him when he later on in the which was I think the book of Malachi. He says, Avram Oavai. He calls Avram his lover, meaning Avram loved him. He had Avat Hashem. So the sages tell us that the beginning is fear of punishment. The highest level of Yirah is the beginning of Avat Hashem. The beginning of Avat Hashem. Now, the conclusion is, you can fear Hashem, but not love Him. You can fear Hashem, but not love Him. But you can't love Him without fearing Him. You can't love Him without fearing Him. The reason why you can't love Him without fearing Him is because in order to love somebody, anyone, you have to know what you're dealing with first. Before you say, I love my wife, you have to get to know her a little bit. Until you got to know her, all you like is her looks. What she looks like, maybe if she has money, or she doesn't have money, if she has this. You like qualities about her. You don't love her. Same thing about your husband. You may like a joke that he said, but you don't know what's inside. You have to get to know someone in order to love them. It takes time. Once you get to know Hashem, just a little bit of what he says. You just read the 5 books of Moses with commentary by Rashi. That's it. In English, if English is your first language, read it in English. If Hebrew is your first language, like you're dominating the biblical Hebrew, read it in Hebrew. But a lot of people try to be heroes and read it in Hebrew even though they don't understand one word. That's not chokhmah, that's just foolishness. You're wasting your time. You need to understand what it says. Read 5 books of Moses with Rashi commentary. If you want more commentary, do more commentary. But just read that 5 books of Moses one time and actually understand what it means. Once you read it, one time, whether it's Parashat Azinu, Bechukotai, Kitavo, the entire book of Deuteronomy, the Sefer Devarim, a lot of the books. Once you read it with basic level commentary, you're immediately scared. Immediately scared. Why? You realize that half the Torah talks about punishment. Half the Torah talks about if you don't do what I say, boom. Half the Torah, Hashem is constantly repeating himself, saying, I'm not your friend. I'm not your buddy. I'm not the guy from the bar. I'm not your classmate. I'm not your chavruta. I'm God. I love you, but there's a condition. There is a condition. You have to listen to me. So once we understand that who we're dealing with, we can't get to Ahavat Hashem without fearing him first. We have to fear him first. And that's why Chazal says a very, very extraordinary statement. It says that purely Yirat Shamayim by itself, just having Yirat Shamayim, is an incomplete connection to Hashem. It's a connection, but it's incomplete. Why? The ideal is Ahava and Yira. The ideal. Avraham Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David HaMelech, Shlomo, Ahava and Yira. Ahava and Yira. So, the ideal connection is to have Ahava and Yira. So if you only have Yira, you only have fear of Hashem, it's an incomplete connection. But if you only have Ahava, it's no connection at all. What do you mean it's no connection? There's no such thing. It's impossible to simply love Hashem. Why? Because as soon as you realize who you're dealing with, you must be scared. If you're not scared, you're also not there either mentally. There's something wrong. And that's one of the things that people try to teach today very often. A lot of these so-called emunah teachers. These people that teach emunah. Emunah this, think this and it'll be this. Think positive and it'll be positive. All of this shtuyot that people teach, just because you think something is going to happen, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You could think you could be a millionaire all day, but unless you go to work, you don't have a chance. Yes, you could believe that you're going to find a wife, but unless you leave the four walls that you're around, you're not going to find anybody. You could think a lot of things, but in reality, it's not going to make him so. There has to be a reason of why Hashem is going to make it so. You simply thinking it is not enough. There's no mesirut nefesh in thinking. There's no mesirut nefesh. There's no self-sacrifice in thinking. You have to do something, take some type of action. Even if it's, let's say, there's a famous story of a certain avrech that went into a room and didn't leave for like 7 to 8 years. His Rav told him, listen, you haven't left your room in 7 years. You learned Torah, Baruch Hashem, you're a tzaddik and everything else, but you have to find a zivug. He goes, no, I believe that zivug is going to come to me. I believe zivug is going to come to me. And lo and behold, the way it happened is that actually the zivug actually came to him. One day somebody sent a woman to go deliver food to him. And it was the first woman he saw in 7 years that he was in his room. But all day he's learning Torah non-stop. He's sleeping 2 hours a day. And he said to the woman, first he goes, listen, you're the first woman I've seen in 7 years. Is there any chance you'd be willing to marry me? He saw she has no kisuga. She saw that she was single. She wasn't wearing a wig, Baruch Hashem. So he saw, no, she's single. So because today you can't tell if they were not married or not married with the wigs. So he saw she's not wearing a. So would you be willing to marry me? She goes, I don't even know you. He goes, oh, listen, I'll show you. He got married. Why? He did mesirut nefesh though. He did something that most of us are not willing to do. But for all of those emunah teachers that teach people, oh yeah, listen, if you think good, it's going to be good, it's not necessarily so. There's more to it. There's more to the equation. There's more to it. You have to push yourself a little bit. There's a little bit of ishtadlut. Just like there's ishtadlut in your work, there's ishtadlut in your spirituality. There's ishtadlut in everything else. And that's the thing that every one of us needs to know. But the biggest part that I think all of us need help on is, number one, doing tshuva ourselves. And two, ultimately having a goal of having enough tshuva in our system that we're proud of what we are. We feel comfortable publicizing it. So when it comes to, let's say, for example, you want to do something, like the idea that you mentioned to me with the bands and so on. How do you know that's a good idea or a bad idea? How do you know any idea that you have is a good idea or a bad idea? Once you have basic level of Yirat Shamayim, basic level of connection to Hashem, you have to repeat the verse, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, every day. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, meaning, I'm always thinking that Hashem is next to me. Hashem is always next to me. What does that mean, Hashem is always next to me? It's always in the Bate Knesset, on the Parochet. You see it everywhere, this pasuk. What does it actually mean? It means this is the foundation of Yirat Shamayim. Before I do something, I ask, what's God's opinion? Not what's my opinion. Not what's going to make me money. Not what's going to make me popular. Not what's people going to like or not like. What is God's opinion? Now, how do I know what God's opinion is? You see from the 5 books of Moses. The 5 books of Moses, our Torah, tells us what is his goal? To spread the Torah around the world. To make sure that is Am Yisrael does tshuva, to make sure that everybody learns Torah, to make sure that everybody knows who he is, and follows what he says. That's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. To fix the world. To fix the world through his word. Through Hashem's word. That's the purpose of the world. So is what you're doing that? Is what you're doing is what you're doing connected to Hashem at all? If it's a spiritual thing, for example, the bands, if this is going to help, some wristbands that he would write some type of pasuk, I guess.
Yeah, it says in English, I'm talking to Hashem. On the inside, it says pay attention.
Okay, so yeah, this is very similar to a ring. A ring that I believe it was Shlomo Melech gave to another king as a present. And it says when you had this ring, it said Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. Maybe, yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe somebody gave it to David, or Shlomo Melech gave it to somebody else. I may have the second story. Either way, the point is that it was a certain ring that would remind the person that regardless of what the circumstances is, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. If what you're doing is going to spread Hashem's name in one way or another, and get one more person to do a tefillah, get one more person to eat kosher, get one more person to go through a certain difficulty without getting off the derech, why not? There's no downside here. But if this is going to make people lose their Yiddishkeit, people are going to become less religious or relevant, or it's purely money-based, and obviously there's no point. So from what you've told me, I don't see a downside. You're saying think about God. What could be so wrong about telling people think about God? You're not telling people, listen, think about God while you're eating tarif. Think about God while you're with the non-Jew. Think about God while you're stealing like Madoff did. You're not saying that. You're just saying think about God. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with it. But you don't want people to turn to this to supplement the exterior Judaism that we have today. The exterior Judaism that we have today is that a lot of people have turned Judaism into things that are exterior. So in the religious world, it's the jackets, it's the hats, it's the beard. In a non-religious world, sgulot. People love sgulot. They love these little short prayers, and they think that that's going to get them to get money, get zivug. You see all these WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups, and even keilot. You see people that come to the shul half naked. They're like, oh, what's this sgula for a parnasat tova? Like, keep Shabbat. No, something easier. Something easier. Keep modesty. No, something easier. Everybody's looking for a shortcut. So you don't want us to supplement that world where we've turned all of Judaism into a wristband or into a small little prayer. You want to tell them, listen, this is good to have, and if you're going through a struggle, but obviously if you're giving it hand by hand, then you want to give them a little Dvar Torah. If it's someone religious, tell them, listen, next time you go into some emunah, this is good to have. If it's someone that's say, not religious, hey, take this and come to the shiur. Remind him to come to the shiur on Tuesday, on Wednesday, or whatever. Like, try to do kiruv while you're doing it.
Right, so it's appropriate to when you give it for
Give a little
God's sake, not
something.
your name.
Sure, yeah. So give it to somebody. Give it to somebody. In essence, use it as a tool to get people to come closer, not as the tool as this is end all be all. But yeah, if what your decision is has to do with Hashem, you could only win. If it has nothing to do with Hashem, it's if it has nothing to do with Hashem, usually it's against Him. So that's really one of the main things, because usually people don't do no one does anything for no reason. No one ever built a table for no reason. You're never going to see a table for no reason. You're never going to tell the guy, okay, why'd you build a table? No reason. Is somebody going to use it? No, I don't know. Is somebody going to eat on it? No, I don't know. Are you going to sell it? No, I don't think so. Why'd you build it? I don't know. You're never going to see such a thing. Every creation has a purpose. So if the purpose of whatever we're doing does not have Hashem in mind, it usually has a Satan instead. We just don't call it that. We call it our bank account. We call it our ego. We call it a lot of other things. We don't call it Him. But that's really what it is. So you have to make sure which one. It's one of them. Just like Hashem made Himself a throne of glory, He also made a throne of glory for the Satan. He also has one. And he only gets up out of that chair when it comes to kiruv, when it comes to you recruiting Am Yisrael to come do tshuva. Otherwise, he has servants to do that. The rest of the work, he has servants to do that. So you'll notice that the things that are meaningless, if you're trying to make money, if you want to have, a basketball tournament, you want to have, one of these crazy Batei Knesset has in Florida, a few weeks ago, had a backgammon tournament in the Knesset, a gambling tournament in the Knesset. Orthodox. Gambling tournament inside the Knesset. That's Ilui Nishmat, someone that died a year ago. The guy is probably screaming at them, please don't do the tournament. Don't do the tournament, you're killing me. I had a chance, now you guys are killing me with your stupid tournament. But that's the thing. So, all of those things Satan is never going to interfere with. Why? He's like, oh, listen, everybody come to the backgammon tournament. Everybody come to the basketball tournament. Everyone come to the baseball game for the whole keilah. Everyone come to the Super Bowl party. He's never going to get in the way. Why? You're doing his work. But if you try to get people to come do tshuva, shiur Torah, or somebody's going to do tshuva, every person that comes is like pulling teeth. Every single person. It's difficult. Why? Satan's getting in the way. So you'll know also, you'll gauge. This is a good way to gauge. The more difficult, the closer you are to the truth. The closer you are to Ratzon Hashem. And again, it's a necessary thing. For me, that was one of the biggest adjustments for me. Going from the business world, where people would pay to talk to me, to going to the religious world, where I would think the same logic, but in reality, I have to pay them to talk to them. That's the reality. There, they would pay me $3,000 an hour just to talk to me. Here, I have to pay them $3,000 an hour for me to talk to them. That's it. That's how you know you're in the right direction. But that's just the reality. Next question. Yeah.
What is the process that I guess you and the other four people follow for or I guess I'm asking, how does Yira motivate somebody?
So, Yira, in reality, fear is the number one motivator we all have, whether we like it or not, to do everything that we do. Everything that we do is based on fear. When you leave and you're going to drive home, you're going to have traffic laws that you're going to abide by, even subconsciously. Subconsciously, you're going to abide by the traffic light. Why? You're afraid to get into a car accident. You're afraid to get a ticket. You're afraid that someone is going to curse you out. You're afraid of things to happen. That's why you're going to abide by those laws, even if you disagree with them. Even if you think, like me, I don't think there should be any speed limit. Personally, I don't think speed limits actually help the environment in any way, shape, or form. And statistically speaking, the countries that actually have no speed limits have less accidents than countries that do have speed limits. But I still have to abide by the law of the country. Why? Because that's the law. and I'm scared to get a ticket. So fear is a motivator, even in traffic. Fear also motivates us to get married. Why? We don't want to be alone. Everyone that's normal knows that at some point, even though I enjoy myself being alone now as a 18, 20, 25, 30-year-old, he's partying, he's got a new girl every other day, but the reality is at the end of the day, he knows every day he's alone. Why? You want to have a partner. You want to have somebody with you that could share the stories, could share the life with you. You can't have it with some girl you met in the club. So even the most secular person on earth wants somebody to share their life with. Most religious person, even more so. He realizes more significant meaning to life. He realizes, listen, I can't have kids without a wife. I can't get to the highest level of Torah without a wife. I can't get to where I want to be without a partner that's going to support me. So we get married, not just because we love somebody. You don't love them when you get married to them. You love the concept of them. You love what could be with them, but you also love the fact that you're no longer scared because you're not alone anymore. So fear motivates us constantly. In business, most people work because they'll tell you that they're ambitious. They'll tell you they're ambitious. They work really hard because they're ambitious. They're ambitious to make a lot of money. In reality, that ambition is flawed. And the reason why is because the ambition is also fear-based. First fear to anyone that's ambitious is the number one fear of Donald Trump or any millionaire or any billionaire. Number one fear is to be broke. Even though it's as far from them as possible, they have billions of dollars, every single one of them is scared to be broke. Every single one of them is scared to not have any money. I remember that fear myself when I had plenty of money in the old days. That fear was the number one motivator. But you have 10 million, you have 20 million, you have 20 zillion. It's still very much a fear because everyone that's a real businessman knows that he can lose it all. There's a guy in Brazil, his name is Ike Batista. A few years ago, he was on the roll to be the richest man in the world. I think it was number 7. He had like $37 billion. $37 billion. Today, he has zero. He actually has debt. He has negative balance. You would never think someone with even $30 million can go broke. I'm the example. $30 billion could also go broke. Every single person that's rich, number one motivator is not to go broke. Second thing that's a motivator is what other people think. You're scared of what other people think. There's a constant competition with the Joneses, especially in American Judaism. We're constantly competing with the Joneses. The Joneses are both Jews and non-Jews. We're competing with, there's a contest all over religious America of who has the biggest house. Apparently every year there's a new floor. If you don't have, every year you have to build a new floor. I went to some rich guy's house one time, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in Boca Raton. I think he's a doctor or whatever. He's some successful guy. Never really got to know him well, but I think he's a doctor. Anyway, he had some other guests, some Talmidei Yeshiva he was hosting and so on, and he asked me to tell my story. And I remember that the guys that were there were more comfortable with him because they've been there a few times. And they saw that there was like ladders and like paint. The whole place was brand new, like it just came out of a box. And beautiful place and so on, but there was like ladders and paint and so on in different places. And one of them asked him, so what are you doing now? To the wife, what are you doing now? She goes, we're going to destroy this whole thing. We're going to destroy this whole kitchen, this whole living room, and we're going to redo it. I don't really like it. He's like, didn't you just build this one like a year ago? She goes, yeah, I don't like it. We're just going to have to destroy it. It's like $250,000 investment, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 investment. But chas v'shalom, someone's not going to like where the fridge is located and the light and the chandelier. So we have to waste $300,000 to fix the chas v'shalom. Someone's not going to like it. This, unfortunately, is a disease. This is a disease. It actually talks about it. Also in the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, it says that there's certain women, unfortunately, that have this problem. This problem is actually a punishment for them. Why? Because that money, that $300,000, could be used to save Am Yisrael. You're not allowed to be wasteful like this. There's no problem with you having nice things. You could have a nice chandelier and a nice house and a nice car. There's no problem having nice things. But to be wasteful like that is 100% a sin. Why do we get to such a point? The fear that we're not the Jones. We're not the richest. We don't have the nicest things. And that's why people get new cars every year instead of every 2-3 years when their lease is over. And they get a new house, and they get a second house, and they tell people about all their successes, never their failures. And you see a very shallow environment where people always tell you about all their good stock picks, never their losses. All their good deals, never their bad ones. All their good conversations, everybody looks like a Facebook profile. You ever see a Facebook profile, if any of you have spent time on Facebook? Everyone looks like they're in Gan Eden. Everyone's always on vacation. Everyone's always eating the best meal in the world. They took pictures of it, for heaven's sake. Take pictures of their meal. They put it online for some strange reason. And everyone's always on vacation. Everyone's kids are always groomed and in good position. They're always happy. They're never crying. No parent in the world ever takes a picture and puts it online of their kid crying, even though the kid's crying 90% of the day. I know, I have 2 of them. They don't stop crying, Baruch Hashem. But that's what kids do. That's their thing. But no parent's going to put a picture of their kid crying. Why? We want to show the world we are Adam and Chava. We're Adam and Eve. But it's all falsehood. It's all a shallow world. Why? Because we're scared of other people's opinion. So in reality, fear is something that motivates us whether we like it or not. From small places like traffic, to business, to marriage, to how we raise our kids, to what schools we send them to even what we read. You could be reading the Musar book, O Israel, by Rabbi Yisrael Misalant. Or the compilation of his letters. Rav Blazer, Yitzchak Blazer, one of his Talmid Muv'ak, his main Talmid, put together maybe 40 of his letters or so. Amazing Musar book. You could be reading that. But someone's going to ask you, so what are you learning now? No, Gemar. I'm like, what? What are you? No, Masechet Shabbat. Why don't you tell me you're reading what we said? No, because they don't understand Musar. It's like we're like ashamed to tell them that we're not learning Gemara or we're not learning this. And that's the reality is that we're not comfortable with our own skin. So fear motivates us whether we like it or not. Motivates us regardless. So just like it motivates us in these basic nonsensical things, it also motivates us in everything else. So when you explain to people that there's a price for everything that they do, immediately you'll get attention from some people. If we go to a restaurant, and the restaurant has a list of different things, but no prices, any normal person will just say, give me everything. Why? It's free. It's assumed to be free. There's no price next to it. I'll just take all of it. It's like my mom's house. You go to your mom's house. You don't tell, hey, how much does it cost? You tell her, just give me whatever you have. And she will give you whatever she has and more. Why? She's your mom. And if a restaurant has the same policy, you say, give me everything. But then the guy tells you, no, sir, turn the menu around. Turn the menu around, you'll see the prices. And you turn the menu around, you see that the cheapest item on the entire menu is $100. All of a sudden, your appetite just went away. All of a sudden, you're not hungry anymore. You're like, oh, do you have water? You have water? They have water here? Does that cost anything? Oh, that's salad. I'll just take 1 leaf. Was 1 leaf? Yeah, $10, sir. Okay, I'll take 1 salad because it's embarrassing to leave without eating. It's embarrassing to us. I'll have 1 leaf of salad. All of a sudden, you don't want anything. But why? Because you know the price. You know the price. The cost for actually doing business is the cost for living. Most people don't know this. They know it, but they've never really thought about it that way. They know it everywhere else in their life. They know it in traffic. They know it in their Beit Knesset. They know it in in their work. They know it in their marriage. They know it everywhere else, but they don't know it with God. Why? Because very few people actually told them. Very few people actually told them that if you don't do this, you will get a punishment that's so bad, it's hard for you to imagine it. Most people think that if I don't do what God says, okay, maybe I won't make as much money. Or maybe I'll have a flat tire. No one thinks that just like Hashem has unlimited love, He also has unlimited wrath. People don't think of Hashem that way. But that's what the Gemara, that's what the Masechet Geinom in Reshit Chochmah talks about, and also the Gemara talks about it in a few places, and the Zohar talks about it in a few places. Just like Hashem has unlimited love for us, where He's constantly willing to take us back. He's constantly willing to accept our tshuva, even if we're as bad as Menashe. Menashe, who brought idol worship to Bet HaMikdash, who took his grandfather Isaiah, the prophet, and cut him up to little pieces. His grandfather, he cut him up to little pieces. He raped his mom. He raped his sister. He accepted his tshuva at the end. He accepted his tshuva to show us he's always going to accept your tshuva if you do tshuva genuinely. But just like he has unlimited love, he also has unlimited wrath. So when I had my shiur that I did a few months ago about Gehenom, anyone that watched it did tshuva. Why? Because for the first time in their life, frum, not frum, Jews and non-Jews, whoever watched it did tshuva. Why? For the first time in their life, they realized God has unlimited wrath too. Because the details of the punishment, which I didn't even go into even 5% of it, but the details that I went into, which is a small section of it, it's a nightmare of nightmares. And the reality is, many people that don't do tshuva will go exactly there. That's just the reality. There's someone that doesn't learn Torah every day, doesn't learn Yirat Shamayim, doesn't do full tshuva, they have to go there. Why? It's the only way to clean the soul. The soul doesn't get cleaned by Scotch-Brite and Windex. Each time we make a sin, we make an indent, a burn, or some type of mark on this pure soul. Something has to clean it. That something hurts a lot. So Hashem doesn't want to send us over there. He wants to send us to Gan Eden. That's why he has Gan Eden. But he also gives us an opportunity to avoid it. Do tshuva. So when you explain to people that you don't even need to tell them the details of Gehenom. Most people, it's not even necessary to tell them the details of Gehenom. You just tell them, listen, if you violate Shabbat, according to God, not according to me, I like you anyway, but according to God, you're considered the same thing as the guy praying to Buddha. You're considered 100% an idol worshiper. According to God. Where? You get shown no less than 7 sources in the Shulchan Aruch, no less than 12 sources in the 5 books of Moses, and countless other sources in the Gemara and Zohar and many other places. So you're considered an idol worshiper when you violate Shabbat on purpose. When you don't wear your tzitzit, it looks like it's not such a big deal. Why? Because according to us, according to Halacha, you're only supposed to wear tzitzit if you have 4 corners. Right? That's the Halacha. Because in the old days, we wore clothes that had 4 corners. So the Halacha is you have to wear tzitzit, you have 4 corners. But if you look at the Gemara, Masechet Menachot, page 25, it says, is it a sin to not wear tzitzit if you're not wearing 4 corners? Is it bad? So Eliyahu Navi says, yes, it's bad when there's Dor Hashmad, when there is a decree on Am Yisrael, when there's a decree against Am Yisrael, such as a Holocaust, such as an Inquisition, such as something bad. The nation sinned, first people that get punished are those people, don't wear tzitzit. Why? Because they have no rights whatsoever. They were arrogant about their mitzvot that they just decided not to wear tzitzit. The one mitzvah, that you make a mitzvah every second, they were so arrogant that how many mitzvot they have, they figured, you know what, I could just let this one go. Gemara says it. So something that we didn't even think is a sin is a problem. Something that is a sin, most people don't know it's a sin, like Shabbat. So when you explain to people that the small things and the big things have a cost, you don't need to go too far. You don't need to go into the details of Gehenom with the worms and the hooks and all the crazy stuff that's there. You don't need to go into that. Just tell the guy, listen, do you really want to be considered an idol worshiper in the eyes of Hashem? You really want to be considered one of his haters? He hates you like he hates Esav? It says in Parashat Vayetchanan. It says in Parashat Yitro who he specifically hates. You really want to be one of those people? Any normal human being that has any connection to Hashem says, no, absolutely not. So why haven't they done tshuva? Because no one told them. No one told them. Especially in the English language. Especially in the English language. So the Yirah doesn't, you don't have to go for the home run day one. You don't have to go to Gehenom right away. But just explain to them there's a cost. The steak cost $100. Know before you buy. Violating Shabbat has a cost. Eating non-kosher has a cost. Being non-kosher as a non-kosher person has a cost. Do what you want, but at least you now know what the cost is. And plenty of people will do tshuva because of that. They don't need to know the details of Gehenom. They just need to know that, oh, Hashem really wants me to keep Shabbat. And that, Rabotai, is how you get people to do tshuva. That's how somebody that wasn't keeping Shabbat himself just a few years ago is helping people do tshuva. It doesn't make any sense that I'm a speaker. It doesn't make any sense. Only reason I do it, my Rav told me, listen, you have to do it, I have to do what he says. But the point is that in reality, it doesn't make any sense. Why? There's plenty of people that have learned a lot more Torah than I did. Okay, so the Siyat Lishmaya, Hashem gives knowledge, I learn a lot. All those things are wonderful. In reality, there's still plenty of people that know a lot more than I do. Plenty of people. Why don't they get people to do tshuva? One reason only, money. It's only one reason that stops people from telling people the truth, money. And the reason why is because if you tell people what I just said, donations immediately leave. Fees for lectures immediately disappear. You can't charge people for a lecture like this. Why? No one's gonna pay to get hit on the head. No one's gonna do it unless it's Tony Robbins or one of these motivational speakers. By the way, those motivational speakers, if you guys ever heard of any of them, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, any of these guys that are motivational speakers, really what they're teaching you is musar. They just call it something else. They call it self-help or motivational speaking or coaching. In reality, they teach you musar, and they tell you about all the things that you're doing wrong, and you have to fix it. Stop being lazy, stop being tired, stop being this, stop. They're teaching you exactly what we're teaching. Only difference is they're not obligating you, because you already paid for that. You paid $5,000 to see them, so you're not obligated to do anything. Just pay the money. That's the only obligation. Here, on the other hand, there's no fee. Only thing you're obligated to do is do everything I say. There's no fee, though. It's free, but it's not free. Any questions? Good, go ahead.
Is it possible for the Mashiach to be a female?
No. The verses specifically say it's a male. For example, Baritzion Goel. Goel is a masculine word. It's a masculine word. Plus, it's Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben David is the Mashiach son of David. Not, thank you, not daughter of David. If it was Mashiach bat David, then it would be a female. But the good news is that he will have a wife, so everybody can marry the Mashiach. But I think more importantly than worrying, a lot of people, love the Mashiach topic simply because it's like a outer world experience. It's like an end to our troubles. It's something we've been waiting for so many years. Everyone says we're the generation that's going to see it, and so on, and we are. The missing ingredient, though, is that most people are worried a lot more about the Mashiach that will save all of Am Yisrael instead of their own personal Mashiach. Meaning, Uba Letzion Goel Eshaveh Pesha B'Yaakov is a pasuk that we read in Tefillah every day. It says, it's a pasuk in Tehillim. It says that the Mashiach will come to save all of those that did tshuva. All those that used to be posheim, all those that used to be wicked, they did tshuva, he's going to save them. So, in essence, this means that Mashiach is only going to save a certain select group of people. Not everyone. Not like a lot of people think that every Jew just by default is going to be saved. This is complete falsehood. Not every Jew is going to be saved. So the Mishnah that's read on Shabbat, Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek le'olam haba, that all of Israel has a share of the world to come, is in the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin, page 98, and it continues till 98. It says, yes, all of Israel has a share of the world to come, and then the next 8 pages say, and these are the ones that do not have a share in the world to come. These are the, so what does it mean, Kol Yisrael? It says, based on the verse, Kulam Tzadikim. All of the Tzadikim have a share that are Israel, have a share in the world to come. And all of the following that are not Tzadikim don't have a share of the world to come. And it gives the definition of who doesn't have a share of the world to come. Mechalel Shabbat, one that goes with Eshet Ish, and so on and so forth. So, many people like to think that they're part of that list. They're part of that list of being saved when the Mashiach comes. Which, alvai, we will be. Hopefully we are. Hopefully we are part of that list that will be saved when Mashiach comes. But the truth is that there's a bigger problem. The problem is that our own personal Mashiach could arrive at any moment. It's called death. Just like Hashem is going to give the Mashiach the power, just like it says in the book of Deuteronomy, in the book of Jeremiah, it says he's going to give the Mashiach the power to smell our sins. Smell our sins. Smell Ayirat Shamayim. In Shamayim, in the Bet Din of Shamayim, they don't even need that. Why? Because they're going to show you all your sins on a screen. So the reality is that same Bet Din that would be created when the Mashiach comes to do all the cheshbonot for everybody, the accounting for everyone. This one's righteous, this one's wicked. This one's righteous, this one's wicked. I'm going to protect this one, I'm going to destroy this one. And so on and so forth. Because the Mashiach himself is going to smell the sins and destroy the sinners. It's not just, oh, you're not doing tshuva, go over there. There's no go over there. It's destroyed on the spot. So it's a very, very crazy, extraordinary thing. It's not like the happy ever after all the time. If you did tshuva, then it is. So now, that's scary enough. The scary thing is that it could arrive even before the actual Mashiach. Why? It's called death. People die. I had a cousin, a young cousin, I didn't know him personally. Comes from a very rich family. And unfortunately, he died a year ago, a little over a year ago. On the second day of Rosh Hashanah, he was only 23 or 24 years old. He fell off a scooter. Now, did anyone think that he's going to die at 24 years old? No. Did he wake up in the morning thinking this is his last day? No. Did he wake up thinking that Hashem doesn't want him to drive on his scooter on Rosh Hashanah? No. Did he think he had his whole life ahead of him? Absolutely. Did his parents that were on vacation in Israel at that time think so also? Yes. Meaning that no one expects death. But it comes. And that's our personal Mashiach. That's our personal cheshbon. And that's what every single person needs to live like that. Realize that today may be the last day. Is this how I want to finish it? Is this how I want to finish it? If you think every day could be your last day, you'll become much more productive. You'll become much better husband, much better wife, much better father, much better mother, much better student, much better rabbi, much better at everything. Why? You're going to put it out on the field every day. Every day you're going to try your best. Every day you're going to eliminate the thought of, oh, I'm waiting to be comfortable. There's no comfortable in this world. There's no comfortable. Everyone that's trying to be comfortable is just ultimately realizing how miserable it is, that they're not comfortable, because there's no comfortable in this world. No one's comfortable. The guy that has a lot of money has problems elsewhere. The guy that has a lot of kids has problems elsewhere. The guy who's not married has problems. Everyone has problems. The reality is that when we realize that we came here to work, and that ultimate day doesn't always have to be just Mashiach. It could also be our own cheshbon and shamayim. It changes the entire picture. Of course it could be Mashiach, which is glamorous and great and so on, but we should only be excited if we're really doing tshuva every day. If we're doing tshuva every day, then we should pray for Mashiach to come and B'ezrat Hashem to save Am Yisrael. But realistically speaking, if we're not doing tshuva, we should pray for him not to come. We should pray for him not to come. Right now, personally, I don't think it would be a good idea for Mashiach, for us, for Am Yisrael, to pray for Mashiach to come. Even though it's one of the 13 principles of faith, that you're supposed to believe he's going to come, supposed to believe that he's going to come, and even expect him to come. You're not obligated to pray for him to come. And in reality, it would be better if he didn't come right now. Because right now, we have 90% of Am Yisrael in America, and probably similar statistics around the world. 90% of them do not keep Shabbat. 90% of the American Jews do not keep Shabbat. 94% believe that it's okay to work on Shabbat. Which means that 40% of the religious people, 4 out of the 10% that keep Shabbat. So 4% of 10 is 40%. So 40% of the religious people, the so-called religious American Jews, think it's okay to work on Shabbat. So we're both damaged. Religious, not religious. Problem is, the 90% usually just don't know better. The 10% should know better, but they still don't. Why? Not enough people are delivering the message. Not enough people care enough to do kiruv. Not enough people care enough to put themselves out there to go do it. And that's why you'll see, for example, even when it comes to donations, people that don't keep anything will donate to the Beit Knesset. They'll buy an aliyah for Yom Kippur, for 10,000, for 20,000, in some Beit Knesset for $1 million. They don't even keep Shabbat, but they'll pay $1 million for an aliyah on Yom Kippur. But you tell them, listen, can you maybe sponsor some CDs, some lectures, a flight, anything for kiruv? Nah, it's not for me. Why is it not for you? There's no glamour in it. Why did he donate the $50,000 at the Beit Knesset? Everyone knows he donated $50,000 to the Beit Knesset. So he feels proud of it. But if he donated $50,000 to get Am Yisrael to go do tshuva, he doesn't see any immediate results. Why? Because no one knows he donated $50,000. The difference is that donation to the Beit Knesset, his entire reward is paid on the spot. All those people giving him kavod, that's his reward. And Chazal says he's going to cry in Shamayim when he realizes that all of his kavod was the reward that he got. And only 1% of 1% was left in Shamayim for that donation. And he's going to cry because he's going to realize how much he missed out. Whereas with kiruv, that same amount of money, you saved even one soul. One Jew started keeping Shabbat because of it. One Jew, not even 50,000. One Jew kept Shabbat because of it. It's 50 million times bigger than any reward you could have gotten for donating to a Beit Knesset. But why don't people donate for kiruv? Because simply put, it's not as glamorous. It's not giving you as much kavod to your Yetzer Hara. It's not something that people care about. And that's a problem. Because in order for us to do tshuva, we have part of the mission of doing tshuva is caring about Am Yisrael. Love your brother as much as you love yourself. Love your brother at the very least means get him out of the train tracks. At the very least, if you love your brother, at the very least tell him, listen, by the way, the train's coming. Move to the left. Move to the left, it's coming. That's a minimum love. Minimum love. Everybody said, no, you should love your brothers. Okay, you love your brother. Okay, tell him to move. The train's coming. The Shabbat train is coming, and if he doesn't move, Hashem's going to run him over. That's love. And that's why Rabbi Yonatan Eibishit says the biggest sinat chinam is when one Jew sees another sin and doesn't say anything. That's the biggest sinat chinam. Why? He sees the train's coming, he doesn't say move. It's coming though. You're not going to tell him? Don't you say you love your brothers, you love Am Yisrael, Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh Lazeh, all these nice psukim? No. Train's coming. No, it's this. It always makes us uncomfortable. So that's the main thing. We have to know that we have to become uncomfortable in order to get people to do tshuva. Yeah?
It's important for where the source of the Torah is coming from. If the Torah is coming from me and I'm giving it to my friend, then he knows what I do.
Sure.
So what does it mean to him? Okay, I know what you do. I just saw you at McDonald's the other day. You telling me that you have to eat kosher.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. You can't rebuke people for things that you're not doing because people, in nature, they're not going to listen to you. They think it's a joke. So just like you're never going to ask for millionaire advice from a homeless person, if somebody's homeless, you're not going to ask him, how can I become a millionaire? Why? It doesn't make any sense. What could he possibly know about being a millionaire? Even though there is a small chance he may know he just went broke. But naturally, normally, you're not going to ask for millionaire advice from a homeless person. Because if it was so good, he would use it and he wouldn't be homeless. Same concept goes for everything in your life. We're not saying to teach him how to be the Ramchal, because we're not the Ramchal. We're not saying be Moshe Rabbeinu. We're not Moshe Rabbeinu. We're saying that you have to teach, number one, what you're already doing. You keep Shabbat, teach Shabbat. You keep Tarat Mishpacha, teach Tarat Mishpacha. You keep kosher, tell them to keep kosher. That's one. Second thing is, teach what you aspire to do. Teach what you aspire to do. So if you're aspiring to work on your midot, your character traits, anger, stinginess, gava, pride, and so on and so forth, all these horrible character traits that all of us have, part of working on them is teaching them. Because once you start teaching certain subjects, Number one, it forces you to learn. Number two, it forces you to embody that attitude. That, oh, it's really bad to be angry. Why? Because look, I'm teaching it, and you're actually teaching yourself while you're teaching them. So what you aspire to do is also what you teach. And I can tell you my own personal experience, the biggest help for my tshuva has been teaching. Because it forces me, number one, to learn, and number two, it forced me to learn for myself, what I'm teaching other people. So you're not portraying yourself as Moshe Rabbeinu. You're not talking to them from a higher ground. You're not talking to them from like, hey, I'm here and you're there. No. What you're doing is you're telling them, listen, I care about you. That's why I tell you. Musar it's not an egotistical thing to do. It's the opposite. Teaching somebody Musar, giving them a rebuke, it's not like the secular world where you're saying, I told you so. I told you so, by the way, is a big avirah. We did a whole shiur about it maybe 2 months ago, about what it actually means to say, I told you so, and a person could actually literally lose Olam Haba for saying, I told you so. It's that bad. It's that bad. There's a Mishnah about it, there's a Mishlei about it, a Proverbs about it, and there's also a Gemara about it. So it's a really, really serious thing. And actually, if you look at every one of your Gemarot, in the beginning of the Gemara, it's tradition that you read this blessing in the beginning. Yeh Ratzon, Hashem Elohai, and it says that I don't want, so my colleagues will not, that I may not stumble in a matter of law and cause my colleagues to rejoice over me, and I don't rejoice over them. Like, I'm not happy that they're failing, they're not happy that I'm failing. Why is it mentioned that in here? Why? Because if they're happy that I failed, they lose Olam Haba. If I'm happy they failed, I lose Olam Haba. That's why it says it. It's not, it's not nice. It's not nice in the Torah. It's truth and it's false. So, saying I told you so is not the attitude. Now, so how do you rebuke? You rebuke as I'm trying to help you, and I'm also trying to help myself. I'm obligated to tell you the truth. I see that you're a very angry guy. I see that you're a very stingy guy. Every time a dollar leaves your pocket, it's George Washington is going like this. Wow, finally there's light. You know, you're a stingy guy. You don't want to go to the bathroom because you don't want to buy another sandwich. You're stingy on yourself. Your wife is wearing the same clothes since she was 12 years old. She's already 40. You're stingy. You have a problem. Okay, so I want to let you know. You have a problem. I'm not doing it because I'm telling you I told you so. I'm telling you because it's to help you, because I'm trying to also help myself. I'm helping myself. Number one, I'm also stingy. Number two, I'm obligated to tell you. So any type of issue, you have to show it to them as if you're helping them, because you are really helping them, but you're also helping yourself. You're not talking to them from a higher ground, I'm better than you and you're less than me. You're not talking down to them. You're talking to them either at the same level or even up. And that's why different people have different shitot. Some people will give compliments before the rebuke. Some people will say a joke before the rebuke. Some people will even, will say a joke after the rebuke. But don't make a joke out of the rebuke. You can use different tactics, but don't make a joke out of it. You understand? Because sometimes you'll tell somebody something, and there'll be so much joking that you'll forget the truth. And there's a lot of tzchok, a lot of, it becomes like a lot of shtiyot. They're not going to do anything. So there's a way to do it. And obviously practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. But I think usually the best way to do it is if you have experience, get to know the people. If you're doing it one-on-one, if you have experience. If you don't have experience at all, best thing to do is to bring it to somebody else. Send them a lecture, send them a video. You saw that this guy, his wife is walking around half naked, and you know that he's scared to tell her something, or maybe he doesn't know. Send him a video and tell him, wow, I just saw this video, it's amazing. What is it about? I don't know, just you have to watch it. Let his curiosity, actually cause him to watch it, and he watches this so-called rabbi actually talk about modesty. And hopefully, Simon, some type of token goes into his brain and says, oh, by the way, he's talking about my wife. But now, he took it and he owned that idea. Now, he didn't think that you were telling him because of his wife. He thought because you just like this rabbi, you just like this idea. But now it's his idea to tell his wife, hey, honey, you have to actually start wearing clothes. So now it's something changed. So usually it's better to get somebody else to do the job, especially if that person's really close to you. If it's a family member, if it's a brother, sister, someone that's really, really close to you, usually it's better for the rebuke to go to somebody else. The best people to actually help as far as rebuke and to get them to do tshuva are people that are far away from you. Because it's much easier for a stranger to listen to you than someone that's close to you. Much easier. It's much easier for me to help you guys than to help my own family. It's just a reality. Your own family is much more comfortable with you. Your own family remembers you from the past. If it's your parents, let's say, they're always going to think of you the same way I think of my kids, as little babies. Even if you're 30 years old, you're still a little baby to them. You know, you don't think of yourself as a baby, but to them you are. To them, you're like talking to them about Moshe Rabbeinu, they're thinking about you in diapers. That's just a reality. So, rebuking your parents is practically a waste of time. But to not say anything is also not good either. So you have to get the rebuke in a different way. Get the rabbi, bring the shiur to the house, give the CD, send the video. There's 1.5 million different ways. All you got to do is just try. Once you start trying, actively try every day. Spend 5, 10, 20 minutes every day to start doing kiruv for everybody, religious, not religious, without thinking much. Just doing, more focus on doing than thinking. You'll start seeing siyata d'ishmaya. You'll start seeing help from Hashem, and how you'll start noticing that the right video is going to the right place. The right book is going to the right place. A lot of things that you didn't even mean to happen are happening. But that's when you don't think much. Well, you just focus on doing and you let Hashem do the thinking. Once you start thinking too much, oh, maybe she's going to like this, or she's not going to like this, or this is too much for her, or this is too little for him. You start doing all that accounting, you end up doing nothing. So that's the number one thing that, when you're doing kiruv, you have to do it. But Hashem, most important thing is to care. Most important thing, yeah.
What about this new group where there's so many people that are becoming secular because they start off religious and they've seen too many chil Hashems going on,
Yeah.
and they said, I'm done with this. This can't be true.
So,
How does one approach this?
So the Gemara in Masechet Brachot says there's no such thing as someone going off the derech. There's no such thing as someone going off the derech because of somebody else's sin. No such thing. Reality is, it's at the end of the Masechet Brachot. I forget the page though. The reality is there's always something rotten from the roots. Something rotten from the roots. And the example that they use is Elisha ben Avuya. Elisha ben Avuya was the rabbi of Rabbi Meir Balanes. He was a Tana. He was one of the 4 people that was able to go to the Pardes to see extraordinary things in Shamayim that no other person was able to see. One person died, one person went crazy, one person became a big giant, which was Rabbi Akiva, and one person went off the derech, became a kofar, which is Elisha ben Avuya, or they call him Acher. So, Elisha Acher, they say, how could it be someone knows so much Torah going off the derech? I mean, he saw things, he did things, I mean, how could such a thing be? And the reason why is because they say that the original foundation that he had was rotten. When he was born, his father was actually a chacham also. His father was a chacham. And when he was born, he invited all the chachamim to his house. And he said, come, let's celebrate for my newborn son. And a couple of the chachamim, I think it was Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Yehuda, but I'm not really sure. They said, let's study. They do their things, they're celebrating. Let us do our thing, let's learn Torah. And they started learning Torah to such an extent they created a spiritual fire. Spiritual fire. And the father came to him and says, what are you doing? You came to destroy my house? He goes, no, don't worry. This is spiritual fire. This is Torah. And the father said, oh, if this is what Torah is going to yield, then I promise to dedicate my son, Elisha, to Torah. So the Chachamim say, how is it possible? He was a Chacham himself. The father was a Chacham himself. Why did he decide to dedicate his son to Torah before he saw the fire? He says that was the problem with Elisha ben Avuya. The problem is that he learned his Torah, but not for the right reason. He learned his Torah for fame, for fortune, for the whole gas of all of it. Not for Hashem itself. Meaning it was Torah without Yirat Shamayim. And Torah without Yirat Shamayim is not Torah at all. To such an extent that the Chachamim say it was better off you don't study at all. If you're not going to learn Yirat Shamayim, It's better off you don't study at all. Sources, Shabbat, Masechet Shabbat, page 31. Better off not to study at all if you're not going to study Yirat Shamayim. So, meaning that even the one that knew a lot, he didn't fall off the derech because he saw something. He fell off the derech because that was the excuse he finally used. That was the excuse. Same thing with all of these people that are falling off the derech. They see this guy that left his wife, and they see this guy stole from this one, and this guy raped this one, and this guy did all these crazy things that are happening around the world, and they use that as the story, as the nail. That pretty much, the last thing on the coffin. They say, okay, I'm leaving. That's all excuse. Why is it an excuse? Because it's the last thing, but it's just an excuse. The excuse, why? Because Judaism has nothing to do with the Jews. Again, Judaism has nothing to do with the Jews. Judaism has to do with Torah. Torah, fulfilling it between you and Hashem. Meaning, if there was no Torah, there would be no Jews. What makes you a Jew is Torah. If there's no Torah, there's no Jew. If the Jew doesn't want to keep Torah, he's also not considered a Jew. He's considered an idol worshiper. Meaning that once you realize that the Torah is your connection between you and Hashem, it doesn't make a difference if everyone around you is Esav himself. It makes no difference. You're still obligated to do what you're supposed to, what Torah says. Even if everybody's Esav, and Paro, and Nebuchadnezzar, and Haman HaRasha, and Hitler, and his brother, and everybody else, it makes no difference. Why? Because the Torah commands you to fulfill it with or without anyone else being a Rasha or a Tzaddik. It has nothing to do with anybody. The obligation of the Torah is for you specifically. If he's a Rasha, that's his problem. He's going to pay for it. And if you learn Torah, that means you know what he's going to pay. If you're going to be a sinner like him, that means you don't know. That means you never learned. That means your whole thing was exterior-based Judaism. Exterior-based Judaism eventually falls. All of those people will fall eventually, either now or when the Mashiach comes. But eventually all of them will fall. Why? Because all of these people that don't have Yirat Shamayim, there's no chance for them to fulfill the Torah.
So then what mechanism could one use? Or is the actual mechanism that, oh no, don't worry about them, worry about you?
Worry about you? Yes. Worry about. The thing is, the same mechanism is applicable everywhere. You teach people the truth, and the truth is, you have to do tshuva. Once you do tshuva, you help other people do tshuva. You help other people do tshuva, that helps your tshuva gets even stronger. But how to do tshuva? Focusing on the truth. Not embellishing it, not telling somebody, listen, if you keep Shabbat, you're going to be a millionaire, and if you, all these things that people try to market Judaism. People try to market Judaism like it's a business. They try to sell, no, if you keep Shabbat, it's going to give you a lot of money. There's plenty of people that keep Shabbat that are broke. If you don't waste seed, that means you're going to become a millionaire. There's plenty of people that don't waste seed and they're also broke. And if you read this certain prayer and you're going to find a zivug, plenty of people read that prayer and they don't have a zivug. And if you cover your hair, you're going to have a kid. Plenty of women cover their hair and they have no kids. Don't sell Judaism as a sgula, as something, if you do it, you get paid in this world. Why? Because that's not Judaism. The Pirkei Avot specifically says your reward is Olam Haba. That's your reward. Anything you get here is an extra. Anything you get here is extra. It's not the real reward.
Isn't Yisura meant for you to get back on track?
Isn't
it? Yisura, to go through the pains. Okay. Right? So wouldn't that mean for you to get back on track? So if I get back on track, my pain will go away? I may be able to get what it is that I've been searching for, what I've been wanting?
Yes, but pain, yes. There's different levels of pain, though. There's different levels of pain. There's pain of minimal pain, which any pain there is. There's no suffering without sin. Flat tire, a headache, an ear infection. We make sins. I make sins at least. And I have ear infection. That's one pain. It's a different type of pain also. Pain, you lose money. Okay, so you lost $100. Okay, that's pain. It's annoying. Or you could lose 20 million. It's a little more painful. Or you could just go from healthy to really sick and start screaming your lungs out day and night for 7 years. That's a different level of pain. Point is, different levels of pain, different levels of punishment. The point is that Hashem is obviously always talking to you. He's always talking to you, and the pain is to wake you up. But the reward is different. The reward is not something that's instead of the pain. The reward is not, the Rambam explains, why do we get any reward in this world? He says, anyone that thinks that he gets any reward in this world because it's for one of his mitzvot does not understand anything about Torah. In reality, any reward that you get is just to encourage you to make more mitzvot. Meaning, if, let's say, for example, you gave maser, you gave 10% of your salary to Torah. Hashem now gave you more money. Next month you made, let's say, 1,000 this month. The following month you made 2,000. Hashem rewarded you with an extra 1,000. He didn't reward you the extra 1,000 because you gave the maaser last month. He rewarded you because, oh, you like this mitzvah, let me give you the ability to make it even more. It's not because you did it, it's but because you fulfilled it. Same concept was, for example, somebody gets married. Oh, you got married? Okay, so let me give you kids. He didn't give you kids because you got married. He gave you kids because you made the mitzvah of getting married. Meaning that every time he gives you a reward, it's in order for you to fulfill more mitzvot. That's the reward. The reward is an ability for you to make more mitzvot. Not a reward as this is end all be all. I'm going to give you more money because you kept Shabbat. No, I'm going to give you more money so you can give more tzedakah and make more mitzvot for more people to keep Shabbat. Because you honor the Shabbat, I'm going to give you money so you can get other people to keep Shabbat. And that's the confusion that a lot of people have. They think that if they keep something and they do something, they're going to get a reward for it. And that's marketing Judaism. It's just not true.
So the reward is just a catalyst for growth.
The reward is a catalyst for you to make more mitzvot, to continue doing what you already started. He's going to reward you in a direction that you already were good at. So if you were good at, let's say, Shabbat, he's going to reward you in a way to connect to Shabbat, that connects to Shabbat. So to get other people to keep Shabbat, to make your Shabbat even better, and so on and so forth, to learn more things about Shabbat, and make, and so on and so forth. But he's going to reward you in a way to give, more of an embellishment to your existing mitzvah, magnify it even more. And that's real Judaism. When we market it like it's a business, like if we do this and Hashem pays us this way, if we do this, Hashem pays us this way, that's simply wrong. It's not true, and also it's bound to fail. It's bound to fail. If you tell people if you keep Shabbat, you're going to get parnasat tovah. If you get married, you're going to get this. If you make it a rewards-based system where your reward is here, it's only a matter of time before people start falling off like flies. Why? Because eventually it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for everybody. Not every woman that covers her hair is going to have kids. Not every guy that keeps Shabbat is going to be rich. Not every person that gives, it's not a foolproof system, because the reward is not here. Some people get rich, some people don't. Some people have kids, some people don't, because the reward is over there. And most importantly, sometimes Hashem simply doesn't want to give it. Sometimes you'll pray for something, and Hashem says no. Simply no. That's it. The answer is no. Just like Parashat Vayitchanan, Moshe Rabbeinu prayed to Hashem 515 times. Let me go into Eretz Yisrael. Hashem says, Rav lach, enough from you, don't pray anymore. Answer is no, I don't want you to come in. Why? My own reasons. My own reasons. There's plenty of reasons the Chazal explains to us, but the point is the answer was simply no. Sometimes it's no. Sometimes you want money, Hashem says no. Why? Maybe you think that if you're going to have money, you're going to become a big donator. In reality, Hashem says you're going to be a big gambler instead. Now, because you have no money, you're going to be a big donor. Once you have the money, it's a different yetzirah. So Hashem will sometimes say no because He knows you better than you know yourself. So to tell people that if you do this, this, and this, you're going to get rewarded for it in this world, it's an outright lie, and it also creates kufrim. It's a matter of time before those people fall off. And a lot of those people that fell off the derech or are falling off the derech are from that mentality. They did certain things, they didn't get rewarded, they fell off. And they blamed the guy that raped this one, and the guy that stole from that one, and the guy that lied on this one. They blame everyone else, but in reality, it's the original teacher they should blame. The one that told them that it's a rewards-based system, that they're supposed to be rewarded in this world. There's no such thing. There's no source in the Torah for it either. That's one thing I always try to understand is where do they get this stuff from?
Where the brachas, like the kisava, right? There's the brachas and there's the clause.
Okay.
If you do what I say, look at all these brachas you're gonna get.
Sure,
Right?
but the brachot, but the brachot you see it's a olam haba mostly. It's not it's not. If you
You're
look,
gonna be a head instead of a tail. It's my balls.
yes, but it's an oath. It's not just a head of a tail. Your life over here is if you're 70 years old and you finally did tshuva, you died 70 years and one day. Does that mean you're not going to get the reward? No, it means you can get the reward ultimately, eternally. all of the blessings that you get are eternal blessings. They're not timely blessings. Because someone could finally do tshuva, he's 25, he's 30, he's 35, but his clock is finished. Hashem decided before he came to the world, he's only going to have 40 years in this world. The guy did tshuva, finally he's 39. He did tshuva. Baruch Hashem. It's great. But he only has 1 year to go. But Hashem says, I have a whole wealth of blessings to give you. So what now? Because I decided you're going to die at 40, that's it, I'm not going to give you the blessings? No, it's all the blessings are eternal. All the blessings are eternal. And that's why if you look at the details of the commentary of each one of the blessings, you see how each and every single one of them is not even applicable to this world. Yes, of course, there's certain things, there's certain comforts that you get in this world. But in reality, plenty of people fulfilled the entire Torah. The entire Torah and don't even have one of those blessings in this world. And plenty of them are very happy they're not getting it in this world. Especially the more righteous they are. Why? Because they realize that any blessing in this world is meaningless in comparison to Olam HaEmet. And that's when many of them would even ask for suffering. And that's when in the Gemara it says that any time that the sages saw that they're not getting suffering for 40 days in a row, they would start bringing suffering on themselves by picking up rocks in the middle of the road. Because they were scared that maybe they made a sin so big and they didn't notice it that Hashem just gave up on them. He's not going to let them do tshuva, so they start bringing suffering on themselves. Just because they didn't suffer for 40 days. That's the mentality of a tzaddik, which is far from us, but that's reality. Our reality is not reality. That's reality. The tzaddik is the reality. So, again, we're not saying that you're ultimately supposed to be just suffering all the time and miserable and so on. No. But to think that if I do this, I'm going to get this is a wrong mentality. It's the same thing with Mashiach. Telling people the reason why we're not allowed to tell people when is the Mashiach supposed to come, like actually putting a timetable on it, it's 100% isur from the Torah. It's 100% asur to tell people Mashiach is going to arrive this year. Mashiach is going to arrive this Pesach. Mashiach is going to arrive before the year 5780 or before the years anything. Putting an actual timetable of Mashiach is 100% asur. Not allowed. Why? Because you're building something that's bound to fail. If people are going to listen to you, 5 people, 50 people, 1,000 people, 50,000 people, depends on your influence. Say, oh, look, so-and-so rabbi said the Mashiach is going to come before Pesach. They start doing tshuva. The guy's doing tefillin 3 times a day. He's reading. He's this. His wife all of a sudden is kisui rosh, kisui body, kisui everything. She's covering her eyes. She became Muslim. Everything. Tshuva, shlema, everything is good. Everybody's celebrating. Little kids grew payers overnight. Everything is great. The little kid, 7 years old, has a beard. Everything is great. Pesach arrived. Mashiach didn't. They go back to be kufrin. They go back to be, why? He's like, oh, look, the rabbi promised Mashiach is going to come in Pesach. No Mashiach, no Na'alayim. See, it's the same thing they've been saying for 2,000 years. He's coming, he didn't come. They don't know, he don't know, no one knows. And if they don't know about this, they probably don't know Torah either. I'm not keeping anything. That's what creates kufrim. Creates heretics.
So are we not supposed to say like that Mashiach's like at the footsteps?
The same Mashiach is at the footsteps. It's always been the case. It was the case 3,300 years ago.
I'm saying like all the big rabbis are saying that, hey, if you look at the Gemara, you know, chutzpah and all these things. Like
Say that he's coming. Saying that he's coming in our lifetime. Say that he's even coming very soon. You're not only allowed, you should, because one of the 13 principles of faith, you're supposed to expect the Mashiach to come any given day. But to give a specific time, meaning before Pesach, this year, 5780, a specific, like actually putting a specific time on it is 100% biblical sin. Biblical sin, because people will build on that time. Many more people are going to pinpoint that specific time, even if a tembel did it. Even if somebody that's a complete fool says Mashiach is going to come according to my computer at 5780. People are going to believe him much more than they'll believe the Gedol Hador. It says he's going to come sometime in the next 10 years. Why? Because he put a specific time on it. He put a date on it. They'll go with him, and then when it doesn't happen, then it's a big problem. It's a very, very big problem. So, Bezrat Hashem, unless you guys have any more questions, Bezrat Hashem, we have more shiurim this week. We have shiur in Queens tomorrow night. Different topic, different things. I have no idea what we're going to say. Hashem has to say something else, so he'll tell me what to say, and then we'll say it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it gets us to do a little bit of tshuva. Again, like I said, you have some CDs, whatever extras, keep them, give them out to people. The shurim are online. You go to be'ezratashem.org. That's our website. There's countless shurim. One thing I highly recommend is the Musar series. What we've been doing for the last 2 years is a Musar series. We're up to 100. Lecture 100. Each lecture is between 2 to 3 hours. Each lecture is completely different from the other. And it goes into the details of Musar, the details of Pirkei Avot, the behind the scenes, a lot of interesting things. And pretty much, if you don't do tshuva, it just means you probably died already. You're in Olam HaEmet already. You don't have to do tshuva. But in reality is, you listen to those shurim, after a few, something's starting to move. After 10, 12, something more. After about 25, you already do tshuva, and now you start to do kiruv already. Because it's the words of the sage has nothing to do with me. The words of the sages, when you hear them in pure form, they're powerful. When there's no sugarcoating, they're powerful. And even a golem will do tshuva from them. Amash, a golem will do tshuva from them. And that's the reality. So that's the number one message today. Don't be a golem. Be a proud Jew. Show everybody else that how amazing it is to be a Jew. Not just by the exterior. By your lifestyle, the interior, what's inside. Once you start feeling that way, the words that come out of your mouth will be like that. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. B'ezrat Hashem, if each one of you becomes a speaker, locally, nationally, in your synagogue, in your work, even with your own family, if every single person starts delivering the truth, Am Yisrael can do tshuva, and the statistics that I told you today are just going to be a horrible memory that we forgot. But if we don't do tshuva, then the Mashiach is going to be worse than Yetziat Mitzrayim. And that's the scary part. Yetziat Mitzrayim was great if you look at just the fact that we left, but not if you look at the actual statistics of how many left. We don't want those same numbers. That's our obligation, the ones that actually know. You know a little bit of Torah? Teach what you know, without embellishing it, without putting your own opinion into it, without sugarcoating it, without worrying about whether they like it or not. Just give it to them. How Hashem wrote it. If He wrote it that way, that means He wants people to know it that way. And B'ezrat Hashem will get Am Yisrael to do tshuva, get Am Yisrael to start keeping Shabbat, get Am Yisrael to stop worrying about the hats and the coats and everything else. And most importantly, get us to, at the very least, be as proud of being Jews as the Muslims and the Christians are proud to be what they are. Because they have falsehood, we have the truth. We have to live like we have the truth. Similar to how they live like they have their falsehood. Baruch Adonai L'olam, Amen ve'amen.